In the shadow of the pyramids, a team of archaeologists is zeroing in on a discovery that could rewrite ancient history.
33 years ago, I started looking for the lost city of the pyramids, and everywhere we put down one of these excavation trenches, we saw big walls.
Alongside an abandoned soccer field, they found evidence of royal architecture.
Something really big is lurking down there. What is this building? Is it a palace?
Dating all the way back to the legendary pharaoh Khufu, this buried structure could be linked to the Great Pyramid itself.
According to all the hints that we have, the building should be right here. We're about to see something that no one has seen for 4,500 years.
Giza. Today, a district of Cairo, home to over 4 million people. 4,600 years ago, the site of the ancient world's greatest wonder. The iconic Great Pyramid was the final resting place of the game-changing pharaoh, Khufu. When Khufu commissioned his tomb, nothing on its scale had ever been attempted. At 482 feet high, the Great Pyramid was the tallest structure on Earth for 4,000 years. Dr. Mark Lehner has been studying it his entire professional life.
Well, it's hard to believe I've been here for 50 years. Now the pyramids are really kind of familiar. I mean, I probably know the Pyramid Plateau better than I knew any place where I ever lived.
For Mark, the Great Pyramid's extraordinary engineering is just the tip of the iceberg. There are greater questions to answer on the Giza Plateau.
The story of the stones only takes us so far. Archaeologists already knew there was a city here at Giza, the city of the dead. I mean, to really understand the pyramids, you have to understand the people who built them. Where was the city of the living? If it took 20 or 30,000 people, where did they live? How were they fed? Where were they housed? Those were the questions that I started with. We knew that if we could find their city, its footprint would tell us something about how the king used the social organization of his time to get this job done. I had to turn my back to the pyramids and look out to the surrounding site.
In search of a lost city, Mark chose to excavate a patch of waste ground just over half a mile from Khufu's Great Pyramid. In 1988, he hit the jackpot.
Once we found it, it gave us something to do for the next 35 years. And we're still at it.
Southeast of the pyramids, Mark made one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of modern times. The city of the pyramid builders. Dozens of mud brick homes for high-status administrators. And at the center, rows of long, thin galleries with vaulted roofs. A giant dormitory building where workers lived, cooked, and slept. At the excavation's southern edge, the team has found mysterious stone walls 6 feet wide, so large they could only be part of a royal building. For 20 years, Mark has been waiting to expose the rest. Mark's discoveries have transformed our understanding of the people who built the pyramids. Not slaves as once thought, but ordinary Egyptians, well-fed and paid. But how the greatest construction project of ancient times was organized has long been a mystery. And the role played by the legendary pharaoh who built the Great Pyramid, unknown. In an area surrounded by mud brick, the thick stone walls of the building stand out. They could be the key that unlocks Khufu's secrets.
What is this building? Was it a palace? If so, what kind of a palace?
For now, most of it is covered in at least a foot of modern soccer field mud.
We like to be careful, but we're anxious to get aggressive. Go medieval on it.
A geophysical survey shows an anomaly under the soccer field. Mark thinks it could be the structure's buried corner. If he's right, this would be the largest building ever found in the lost city.
There's no doubt there's a building here. I'm almost certain. I mean, not almost certain. Certain is certain. It's just a question, how big is it? Where does it go? And what is it?
Mark decides to dig several trenches in line with the previously excavated stone wall. This should give the team the best chance of hitting the ancient building. Within an hour, a crew guided by Mark's long-term collaborator, Dr. Mohsen Kamel, has broken through the thick soccer field layer into the sand below.
Mohsen, I think we should be seeing it by now, and we're just seeing clean sand.
We'll give it another 20 centimeters or 30, and then we'll see.
A man of faith.
Mark wants to hit the building before the end of the day, but pit 1 is getting dangerously deep.
And we don't have any long tape.
Oops.
Uh-oh. All right, I think we should get everybody out. The side of the square collapsed, so it's beyond being safe, so we have to stop it here.
The team has dug far deeper than the building's expected depth. It has Mark worried.
Now we're more than a meter below the level where the wall is running strong. If anything was there, we'd be hitting it. That's the thing, there's nothing here. Maybe the geophysics anomalies aren't positioned right on the map.
The giant building should extend well into the soccer field. But the corner suggested by the geophysical survey is not where Mark expected. Perhaps it's not a palace at all. He decides to focus efforts on test pits 2 and 3. Mark authorizes some demolition work to check the trench's alignment with the building's previously excavated wall.
The line looks good. If the wall continues that far, we should pick it up.
As the team prepares the ground for pit 3, the news coming out of pit 2 is also not good.
Only 32 meters there. Wall, big buildings. Lost city. Here, just clean sand.
Once again, they've dug beyond the expected depth of the stone wall and found nothing.
We're at the water table. That means we're more than 2 meters underneath the level of the building wall. Just 32 meters to the north.
All the clues point to the stone wall being right beneath them. Its absence makes no sense. After 20 years of waiting to dig, Mark now faces the possibility that his search for a royal palace might fail.
Fifukhar. There's pottery. Oh my God. See? Well, that's highly intriguing. There's no doubt this is good 4th dynasty pottery from the time of the pyramids. Only moments ago, I was saying we have nothing, not even one shard, and now it's just popping up everywhere. It's not a lot, but it's a little that says a lot. It's the top of a jar.
The pottery is evidence of human activity on this spot while the pyramids were being built. Perhaps the rest of the royal building is down there after all. As Mark's number 2, Dan Jones, supervises the delicate work on test pit 2, energy levels are ramping up in Pit 3. Mark watches with anticipation.
Mark, they've located a wall down on the bottom in the second trench.
A wall? My God. Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, no, come and have a look. That's all here, yeah.
Mark's search for an ancient royal building within sight of the pyramids has had a major boost. His previous excavations suggested the structure extended well into the soccer field. Now, they finally found stonework in the second test pit. But it's much deeper than expected, right down at the level of the groundwater.
Oh, well, we got a wall. That's amazing.
Am I on the alignment, though?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much where we thought it would come. So we have the wall there only 32 meters away, something like 90 feet. Between there and here, we have some kind of ramping down by about 2 meters. Everything we see from here on out, no one will have seen in the previous 4,500 years.
Mark has located the giant building beneath the soccer field, but it's 6 feet deeper here than at its northern end. Its western wall seems to slope downwards. The only way to explain why is to clear the rest of the soccer field and figure out whether this building really was a palace. To help him understand what might have gone on in the pyramid builder's lost city, Mark heads for Khufu's Great Pyramid itself.
It's still the case that every time I come, I see something new that I hadn't seen before. And I've been here for 50 years.
He's searching for evidence of the human effort required for the pharaoh's immense project. Almost the entire pyramid is built with stone quarried from the surrounding plateau.
Most of the stone that we see on the pyramid today was never meant to be seen.
But the base is clad in a different type of rock.
If you imagine the entire acreage of the pyramid covered with this beautiful polished white limestone, that's what the pyramid looked like when it was brand new and complete.
Geologists have worked out that this fine white limestone comes from a quarry at Tura, 8 miles away.
The ancient Egyptians were good geologists in their own right and knew where to go to get the best stone for the right purpose.
Inside, Mark explores the pyramid's closed-off interior. Even the internal passages are lined with high-value material.
So the Grand Gallery is one of the ancient architectural marvels worldwide. The laid-in stone of the internal passages and chambers is from Tura.
Every surface bears evidence of the craftsmen who worked it smooth, with chisels made of copper, mined more than 100 miles from the pyramids.
The human story, the story of the human hand that created the Great Pyramid, is there in details like these chisel marks.
150 feet up, in the center of the pyramid, is the king's burial chamber. A protective cocoon of solid granite, shipped all the way from southern Egypt.
This is where the king was buried as a god that had ruled the Egyptians on earth. It was meant to be the darkest, most inaccessible place in the universe. Everything we're finding in the lost city of the pyramids was all about building this room.
The Great Pyramid was an unprecedented engineering marvel, but it was also an extraordinary logistical feat. Egyptologists have long wondered how an ancient society organized a project that required resources from all over the country. In 2013, archaeologist Pierre Tallet chanced upon some astonishing evidence. In a cave on Egypt's Red Sea coast, he unearthed a cache of decaying papyrus documents. Unique and priceless, they're now kept secure in the archives of Cairo's Egyptian Museum.
We knew that we had the most ancient papyri ever found in the world, in fact. It is the first real documentation that we have about the building of the pyramid. You have the cartouche of Khufu here, and here, for example, we have the pyramid. We get really excited when we were reading it, because it was evident that it is a logbook of a team of sailors that were supposed to bring material for the construction of the Giza complex of Khufu at the very end of his reign.
The papyri were written by the crew's overseer, Inspector Mera. The entries describe the team's movements as the final touches were applied to the pharaoh's giant tomb.
Inspector Mera is traveling by boat, sailing towards the pyramid of Khufu, loaded with stones.
Mera's records reveal his workers shipped limestone 8 miles from a quarry in Tura to Khufu's pyramid site in Giza. His team may also have collected copper ore from mines on the Sinai Peninsula, which was used to produce vast quantities of chisels for smoothing the pyramid's fine casing stone. Mera was just one of many overseers keeping detailed logs of their work. Why the records were sealed in a cave is unclear, but the arid soil ensured the script survived for 4,600 years.
I think one of the interests of those papyri is that they're beautiful, in fact. I'm in love with them. The way they kept their records, it's really impressive. The building of the Pyramid of Khufu is a great project of the reign. You can see that all the resources of the country are concentrated to build the pyramid. Here you have the most impressive pieces, but we still have about 500 fragments to study, and we have to extract all the valuable information from them.
It will take Pierre years to decipher every last fragment of text. But each tiny scrap could help piece together how the pyramid project was run. On the dig site, Mark's plan is to find out whether the building he's waited 20 years to uncover played a role in the pyramid's construction, and whether it's a lost royal palace. Under the supervision of Mark's longtime friend and colleague, Syed Salah, the team has shifted a 10-foot-thick layer of sand and mud, massively extending the lost city site. It means he's exposed another 15-foot section of the mysterious stone building at its heart. The secrets at the center of the lost city are just beneath their feet. The team has spent days shifting 4,500 years' worth of mud and sand from what they hope might be a pyramid-era palace. They're searching for evidence of the structure's purpose. With any luck, it will hold clues to the role this lost city played in turning the pyramid project into a reality. Immediately, they begin to unearth clues. The compacted mud seems to contain an unusual amount of stone. Not building material, something more valuable.
There's just a tremendous amount of granite. Then we have alabaster, which is imported. The granite is imported from Aswan, 600 kilometers to the south. The alabaster is probably imported from Middle Egypt, maybe 200-300 kilometers to the south. The question is, why so much granite? Why so much alabaster? So yeah, we're starting to find pieces that show worked surfaces. That's quite nice. The fact that it's got a flat work surface indicates they were making things out of this hard stone here. Is this a moment of discovery? Ada. Yeah, it looks like we have a corner. It looks like a base, like of a statue. Whole mounds of stone are accumulating as we move in and under the soccer field. They went to great length to get this. Whole expeditions going down to Aswan and out into the Western Desert. The fact that we're finding so much of it, it's telling you a story. I think it's very possible that this whole part of the lost city of the pyramids could well be the industry for providing statues for the temples. Think of the clink-a-chink of hammers cutting this stone. It must have been truly an amazing experience to be here at that time.
A few yards away from the buried cache of imported stone, Mohsen is working on a fresh find. Inside the giant building's perimeter walls, the team has come across a number of circular structures.
See, here you scraping, and all of a sudden you see a difference in coloration, and you see a straight line. So that would tell you there was a brick here.
Mohsen recognizes their form immediately. The Egyptian archaeological record is full of similar cylindrical structures used for storing food. But these silos are giant.
Here, the diameter of these silos, or these structures, cylindrical, and the diameter is about 2.6 meters. Assume at least 2 meters high, if not more. This is a silo that, let's say, on industrial scale.
The silos are enclosed by the thick stone walls of the royal building itself. They could hold clues to how the pharaoh managed the resources needed to get the pyramid built. Archaeologist Claire Mallison specializes in studying the site's most minute evidence, plant matter. In the team's storeroom, Claire sifts through the soil samples taken from all over the excavation. She's trying to work out how an army of workers hauling stone could be kept alive. In the samples of dirt from the dig site, she looks for anything that appears to be burned.
The burned plant remains will float because they're light, they're organic, and then we collect them in the sieve. Yeah, there's some little bits of charred remains in here.
Fire turns the plant remains into carbon, preserving the shape of seeds, husks, and straw. By far the most common plant species Claire finds on the dig site are wheat and barley.
What we can tell from the plant remains that's really exciting is that they were provided with ready prepared grains, probably by the pharaoh, because they're working for him. They're building a pyramid. He doesn't want them distracted by having to do lots of work on their food preparation.
And grain wasn't only food in ancient Egypt.
So we know that some points of history in Egypt, this is how people were paid. They were provided with grain as their salary. What the plant remains can tell us about our site is that it was a very important central place. There was a big supply chain from all over Egypt to the pyramid building site to support the workforce.
Nile floods gave bountiful harvests of wheat, a staple crop on which the entire country depended. It was turned into bread and beer, sustaining the people of Egypt's farms and villages. But if kept cool and dry in silos, wheat grain could be stored for months, guaranteeing a supply of food during times of drought. Since grain was needed all year round, It was the ideal currency to pay the laborers working on the pharaoh's eternal tomb. The most secure place for the king's vast grain reserves might have been within the walls of the city's giant stone building.
People were actually paid in grain, bread, and beer. So this is like the central bank that bankrolled the pyramids. You got to keep that in mind with your pick.
Mark believes the row of silos continues beneath the soccer field. Exactly how many is still unclear. But what is certain is that the royal building protected huge quantities of Egyptian wealth. On the other side of the site, the team is searching for the end of the building's stone wall.
Yes, Syed. Is the wall still going? Still further? Oh my God, look at that. Oh, the wall just keeps going and going. There's really big architecture down there.
But work is hampered by an insurmountable problem. The wall continues to slope downwards, and although the area above ground may be arid, with winter approaching, groundwater levels are rising. The team can't excavate underwater, but Syed continues to search every square inch of ground he can.
Yep, just a little bit of a corner of a hieroglyph. Syed found this because he's got a really good eye. He's been doing archaeology for more than 30 years.
What looks like an ordinary pebble turns out to be a small lump of hardened clay.
They would block a door or a box or a bag with cloth, and they would tie string, and then they used this kind of clay to seal the string. So when somebody wants to open the bag, open the box, they have to break the clay. They are like our old-fashioned wax letter seals. Same thing. There's a vertical element and two little arms going up. And I think what we have is half of a sedge plant, which is the hieroglyph for Nisu, king. Possibly.
Found inside an apparently royal building, in sight of the pharaoh's pyramid tomb, even tiny clues like this unlock the secrets of ancient Egypt's greatest monument. So little is known about Khufu that every scrap of information is vital. In the team's storeroom, Claire combs through the hundreds of ceiling fragments unearthed in 20 years of digging at the lost city. Those pieces found around the giant building could be a rich seam of information. They appear to belong to people in the service of the pharaoh.
What we've got is each ceiling belonged to one person. And on it, we have the job title, basically, and the name of the pharaoh he's working for. That's why they're so important for us. So this one is a particularly nice one, and it belonged to the keeper of royal instructions, scribe of royal documents.
The pharaoh surrounded himself with high officials and advisors who ran the Egyptian government. These officials had unique hieroglyphic seals, like signatures, which they used to secure important documents, boxes, even doors. They were responsible for collecting taxes, monitoring the all-important grain supply, and managing the pharaoh's building projects. The top official was the vizier, effectively a prime minister, who oversaw the design of the king's eternal tomb, the pyramid. The ceilings suggest dozens of different officials roamed around the royal building, doing the pharaoh's bidding. Troublingly, the team has never found Khufu's name among the ceilings, until now.
Hi, Claire.
Hi, Mark.
So Ali tells me we have Khufu.
Yeah, looks like it.
Wow, look at that. And there it is. You have the cartouche. Then you have the Kha sign, kind of like our KH. So Khufu, pretty clear. So this is the first time we've had a mention of Khufu in the ceilings. Keep picking away, and suddenly there's a clue, and then another one, and another one. And pretty soon it adds up. In this little daub of mud, has so many implications.
Khufu's cartouche, among the debris of the royal building, is yet more solid evidence that the city was key to his project. At its center seems to have been a multi-purpose structure. Mark's evidence suggests not only was the royal building a vault storing Egypt's wealth, it was a hub for the pharaoh's powerful officials. Could this have been one of the most important buildings in Egypt? Pierre has come to Giza to meet Mark. Among the scraps of papyrus he excavated on the Red Sea coast, he's found what may be critical new information for understanding the lost city of the pyramids.
So Pierre, this is Papyrus D, but it just looks like a series of very small fragments.
Yeah, unfortunately, this papyrus was not so well preserved, but it is probably the most interesting for the Giza area.
Within the workers' diaries recorded in this papyrus, Pierre has discovered references to a special building near the Great Pyramid.
We have a mention of the Khenu, the royal residence somewhere.
Whoa. So that's interesting. You actually have the mention in a document of a palace of Khufu?
Yeah.
Ancient Egyptian pharaohs had multiple palaces, including both private homes and administrative headquarters. If Pierre's translations of the fragmentary papyrus are correct, Mark's giant structure could be one of the royal buildings mentioned in the text. And more details seem to support the theory.
Anyway, what we have also in this papyrus is mention of other administrative structure. Like, for example, here you can see the granary.
What we have actually found are a series of big silos. So we have a granary. Is it possible our granary is the granary mentioned here?
It's quite possible. It's really interesting when you can find a connection between archaeology and those texts. And,
Absolutely. I mean, really for the first time, these texts are bringing people to life, the people who built the pyramids.
The giant building beneath the soccer field bears all the hallmarks of a center of power. Thick walls and high security protecting valuable grain and stone. Adjoining buildings bustling with high officials. Could it be that it was an administrative palace, like an ancient west wing of the White House, from which the pyramid-building kings oversaw the construction of their giant tombs? On the dig site, another season is moving towards a close. In the shadow of the pyramids, Mark and the team race to uncover as much of the giant building's footprint as they can.
So, I see it. I see a turn here. I see a corner out there, but there's no doubt there's a beautiful line of a wall. You can even see the plaster render on it. Some people might think this is like watching paint dry. It's kind of like watching mud dry. But, you know, it's like just identifying little corners like this, walls, corner by corner, that we came up with the whole map of the lost city site.
The mud brick homes and workshops of the settlement sprawl some 7 hectares beyond the royal building. But Mark's quest to understand the people who built the pyramids has taken him all over the plateau. In 2015, the team discovered more buildings to the southwest of the city. Curiously, they're cut off from the rest of the site by a wide gap. By uncovering the full extent of the huge building beneath the soccer field, Mark hopes to find out why. The team has shifted hundreds of tons of sand in search of the royal building's southern limit. But for now, they can go no further. The wall dips continuously downwards in a series of terraces. They followed it all the way to the groundwater. But what at first seemed like an obstacle has given Mark an idea.
Syed, are there any walls in here? في حيطان هنا؟ وبعدين فانوس. So now we've arrived at this big rectangular enclosure filled with groundwater. As chance would have it, the groundwater is just where we think the level of the Nile flood was in the time of the pyramids.
If the building ramps down to the ancient level of the Nile River, it could mean that the structure fronted onto water. That would explain the location of the cut-off buildings compared to the city. They were separated by a harbor. It's known the Khufu diverted the west branch of the Nile and built a harbor to receive the heavy Tura limestone. But this would be a previously unknown dock.
We're going to take an elevation on the wall as far as we've traced it into the groundwater. All right, Dan, if you can give me an elevation on the wall, I want to know if we're at the level of the Nile flood during the time of Khufu.
Okay.
It should be about 14.5 meters above sea level. What's the elevation?
1451.
14.51.
The wall's height above sea level suggests that 4,500 years ago, this area would have been filled with river water. It would have been an ideal dock for receiving the most valuable goods, and perhaps the king himself.
There's a whole series of little ramps going down into this rectangular enclosure that's now filled with water. I mean, the whole structure is starting to appear. It's a sophisticated port structure. When people were thriving in the city, men were carrying baskets of grain and other commodities up into the enclosures and the compartments. It's all really coming together.
The building's thick stone walls and the ceilings belonging to the pharaoh's administrators prove to Mark that the giant structure dominating the lost city was royal. It seems the building also had its own harbor, built to receive precious goods and powerful people. To find the last wall of the building, Mark now has to wait for the groundwater level to retreat. Nearly 4 months after Mark closed up the lost city site, the groundwater has finally dropped. Syed and the team scrape away the overlying mud to expose the ancient archaeology. Mark hopes it will reveal the rest of the giant building he's waited 20 years to unearth.
As soon as the men clear the surface, walls just pop out asking to be mapped. Where Syed is brushing, you can see the bricks showing, brick by brick. And what it seems to be is the frame of a doorway coming into this unexcavated part of the royal building. All this is new. Nobody's seen it for 4,600 years.
This morning, Syed has been delicately cleaning what appears to be the last of the stonework. Where the stone wall peters out, he finds a telltale area of compacted mud.
The royal building changes from stone to mud brick. And so the mud brick kind of fuses with all the disintegrated mud brick around it. But taking away the last of the sand, there is unmistakable the southeast corner, the end of the royal building.
Having established the structure's limits, Mark and Dan can finally compare the building to the palaces and temples of later pharaohs and get a true sense of its importance.
First time we've measured the north-south lengths of the royal building.
By pinpointing the coordinates of each corner on their citywide archaeological grid, Dan can work out each dimension with millimeter precision.
99059. 0.644.
So we're talking around 51 meters in length.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's interesting. It's a standard 100 ancient royal cubits. Are very close.
The building's east-west measurement is equally impressive, at 140 feet.
42 meters, 75 centimeters, and 1 millimeter. It's as big as the biggest palaces that we know from ancient Egypt. Anyway, I happen to know the White House is 52.5 meters wide at the front. It's just comparable. It's a really large building. Thank God some of it's left for us to find.
After half a century of searching, Mark has exposed one of the largest non-funerary stone buildings ever found from the time of the pyramids. The administrative palace on which the pharaoh's entire pyramid project depended. Mark's excavations have revealed the royal building covered a huge area of 23,000 square feet. Flanked by storehouses and workshops for master craftsmen working valuable stone. Inside, there were at least 30 silos that stored grain to pay the workers, accessed from above and below. The building backed onto a stone dock, giving it direct access to the Nile, making it the perfect hub from which the pharaoh and his officials could manage construction of the greatest monument on Earth. Today, Mark is closer than ever to understanding how the great pharaoh Khufu and his successors transformed the Giza Plateau and Egypt itself.
To build the pyramids, you know, it wasn't just stonework. It was far, far more than that. You needed to feed the people. You needed granaries. You needed fine craftsmen to work the granite. Egypt at this time, all evidence indicates, was largely an agrarian society. When Khufu came here to build the Great Pyramid at Giza, it required a whole infrastructure that was new and different. But a city like this was unprecedented. It set that society on a whole new spin like a gyroscope. And that resulted in the next 3,000 years of Egyptian civilization.
50 years after starting his quest to understand Khufu's Great Pyramid project, Mark has exposed the buried secrets of the last surviving wonder of the ancient world.
We're putting the light on the people who built the most gigantic structure in the world until the turn of the 20th century. This material, this pottery, these ceilings, this is the real treasure, the lost treasure of ancient Egypt.
Inside the pyramid of an ancient Egyptian king, a team of archaeologists is about to reveal a burial chamber that has never been excavated before.
I am dreaming every day to the moment that I will start exploring the burial chamber. And the time and this moment came.
The roof has collapsed, burying valuable artifacts and possibly even killing tomb raiders from the ancient world. Now, finally the time has come to unearth 4,500 years of history.
It's a huge responsibility. I have to make sure that everybody is safe.
But as they dig deeper into the pyramid, they must avoid being buried themselves. The ancient pyramids of Egypt. For over 4,000 years, these iconic royal tombs have captivated humankind with their majesty and mystique. Today, more than 100 survive, spanning over 1,000 years of pyramid building history. Almost all of them have been explored by archaeologists and found robbed of the king's mummy and treasures. But 7 miles south of the famous pyramids of Giza lies a smaller, lesser-known pyramid that has never been fully explored.
Good morning, everyone. Can we start?
Yeah.
In Abu Sir, Egyptian archaeologist Dr. Mohammed Ismail Khaled and his team are about to begin a remarkable new season of excavations. They are preparing to enter an unexplored burial chamber inside the pyramid of a king named Sahure. What lies inside is a complete mystery.
I'm very excited to be back. I can't wait to start getting inside the pyramid and starting our exploration. Since I was a child, I liked history. I liked the names. I liked the life. 5,000 years, people were living here in the same places that we live right now in Egypt. And to study their life, it's really a big dream.
When complete, the Pyramid of Sahure would have been a shining edifice of white limestone, with the king's mummy entombed within a central burial chamber. But when early archaeologists first investigated the site, they discovered masses of rubble inside, collapsed from the pyramid above. This prevented a full excavation. Now, nearly 200 years later, Mohammed has an incredible opportunity.
Our mission is to excavate the burial chamber and to be the first. Many Egyptologists tried before you to enter into this place, but they couldn't. I cannot express how you feel that you are the first one after many, many years. If we will find part of his sarcophagus or even part of his mummy, this will be the best moment in my life. I dreamed of this.
Deep in the heart of the pyramid, Mohammed's excavations have already revealed the structure of 8 new storerooms called magazines, looted of treasures by ancient thieves. Opposite lies Mohammed's ultimate goal, a large vaulted room that should be Sahure's burial chamber. Today, the massive ceiling beams are broken, and rocks from the pyramid fill the room up to 8 meters high. The remnants of a mysterious and catastrophic collapse. Last season, Mohammed started to clear rubble at the entrance to the burial chamber. He found small fragments of dark basalt, pieces of the king's sarcophagus, and an unmummified human jawbone that could be from an ancient tomb raider who was buried alive. Now, Mohammed and his team are back to find out what really caused this pyramid to collapse. And if tomb raiders really were buried, could royal treasure still be hidden inside? Their first job is a dangerous one. They must secure a precarious ceiling beam that covers the entrance to the burial chamber.
We have a stone beam 9 meters high that has a lot of cracks. It's, of course, a big problem because behind this beam, it's a lot of huge blocks. If we did not support the beam and huge blocks from the core of the pyramid will fall down and it will be a big disaster and a big collapse.
Ahmed Abdanabi is responsible for the safety of the pyramid structure. Climbing high above the chamber floor, he reaches the cracked limestone beam.
It's very dangerous. In this place, I prefer to be alone. Just one guy helping me. We have to have a little fear, just a little, to be success.
To secure the structure of the beam, Ahmed fixes a network of metal anchor rods inside the limestone and then injects it with an epoxy resin. This should stop any cracks from getting larger and breaking off, but he'll need to finish over 20 before it's completely secure.
Anchor by anchor, the safety will increase.
As the repair work continues, Mohammed and the team prepare the rest of the burial chamber for excavation. If they succeed, their discoveries will add a new chapter to the history of King Sahure, his life and reign. Only 32 years after the colossal pyramids at Giza are complete, Sahure becomes king. He builds up Egypt's navy, sending trade missions to foreign lands for exotic goods like frankincense and myrrh, and constructs temples across the country to grow the economy and be worshipped as a god. At Abu Sir, his 150-foot pyramid was the vehicle to take Sahure into the afterlife. It was meant to last forever. Up above the burial chamber, the stone beam is now secure.
We are now standing at the beginning of the burial chamber, and we hope that it extends up to 7 meters or more, 7.5 meters, until we reach the end of the burial chamber.
Several large stone blocks are precariously perched on top of a 4-meter mound of rubble. The only way forward into the chamber is to bring them down.
Then we will start to take the debris down until we bring the small blocks first, and then this large one in the middle. Of course, in every single moment inside the pyramid, it's very risky, but we try very hard to make sure to make the situation as safe as we could.
Led by the excavation foreman, known as the Rice, the team start clearing piles of pyramid debris.
My Rais and all the people and his team, they have got this experience from their fathers, and their father got it from their fathers and grandfathers. So it's inherited experience. Of course, you cannot learn this in university or anything. Ismail is one of the most experienced workers that I've ever seen in my life. He has no fear, and also he has got a very, very quick reaction.
Quick reactions are critical. One wrong move could spell disaster.
Is it safe to come out now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah?
Yes, it's very safe.
The team begins to clear the debris. Almost immediately, Mohammed finds a tantalizing piece of stone buried in the rubble.
So we have a piece from the basalt sarcophagus, and it gives us really good indication that we are on the right way and we are going towards the burial chamber and the sarcophagus of the king.
On the other side of the pyramid, Mohammed checks the team's progress restoring the newly discovered storerooms. Parts of the chamber walls are missing or destroyed. And these gaps offer a rare chance to see how the inside of Sahure's pyramid was built.
We have a very unique part because we have seen the inner walls of the north side of the pyramid, as well as a very clear part of the bedrock. See how large is the stones above the bedrock, and then they start to use smaller blocks. They come above each other, but the first one is the largest.
As well as understanding the pyramid's internal structure, Mohammed believes clearing away the tons of rubble will give an insight into why it collapsed.
Here, we have collected all the white limestone that we found during our exploration. And what's really interesting, that we found very smooth surface, and this all comes from original walls.
The smooth limestone fragments from the original walls seem to have been destroyed intentionally. Mohammed thinks it's the work of robbers.
Our theory that a lot of destruction, intentional destruction, happened inside the pyramid. So either they reused the white fine limestone, or they were searching for treasures without knowing, without studying the things. They start to cut the walls, and the stability of the pyramid became very weak.
Mohammed's excavations have revealed the builders of Sahure's pyramid dug a 3-meter pit straight into the bedrock of the site and reinforced it with local stone blocks before cutting a deeper outline for the pyramid's internal chambers. Thick white limestone walls, ceilings, and monolithic gabled beams are added, holding the weight of 200,000 blocks from the pyramid above. Mohammed thinks damage to the white limestone walls by tomb robbers was instrumental in causing the pyramid's collapse. Two miles south of Abu Sir, in the ancient necropolis of Sakara, Egyptologist Dr. Meredith Brand has come to explore the pyramid of Sahure's father, King Usakaf. Similar in size and structure to Sahure's, she hopes to reveal more clues about how these pyramids were built to understand why Sahure's may have collapsed.
It's actually pretty impressive. From a distance, it kind of just looks like a hill, but when I get up close, I can see all of these local limestone blocks that were used to be the core, the fill of this pyramid.
Like Sahure's, the local stone blocks have suffered from heavy weathering, but originally a stronger limestone would have encased the outside.
This is Tura limestone. It's fine and white and bright, and it would have made really valuable loot to people in Egypt. You could use this ready-made stone to build buildings.
Heading inside, unlike Sahure's pyramid, Meredith finds the colossal stonework intact.
It's nice to see that these walls are finished the way that they would have been in Usarkaf's time. It's beautiful.
Along the corridor, Meredith spots a huge slab of solid granite meant to defend the pyramid from looters. In the corner, a hole has been chiseled away.
Oh, this is really incredible. This is where the looters must have come in from.
It's clear Usakaf's pyramid was compromised by robbers, but most of the structure is still standing. Meredith searches to find out why. Inside the pyramid's storerooms, she finds more remnants of the fine limestone walls.
This is the foundation limestone for the wall. And so this would have gone from here all the way up to create a smooth surface.
Like Sahure's pyramid, lots of the wall is missing. But instead of revealing blocks from the pyramid above, it has exposed a roughly hewn chamber tunneled directly into the ground.
This entire space is carved out of the bedrock here in Sakara. So it's secure, it's stable. And the robbers knew that they could take the limestone blocks from this area and it wasn't going to collapse.
The broken and stolen limestone walls may not have caused a collapse here. But what about the rest of the pyramid? Back in the pyramid of King Sahure, Mohammed and the team start to make some intriguing finds.
Oh, it's alabaster piece. It comes from alabaster vessels. The alabaster piece is actually, it was part of the canopic jars of the king.
Canopic jars were used to hold the internal organs of the mummified king. For Mohammed, the discovery is bittersweet.
If we find some alabaster pieces here, that means most of the alabaster and canopic jars of King Sahure has been completely destroyed. It's disappointing news for me, but it's also very interesting to see even part of the canopic jars and to see how it's really smooth and beautifully done. It's perfect. So no inscription. So hopefully we will find more pieces that it could give us more information and more clues.
Soon, even more pottery emerges from the rubble. But this time, it appears more recent, perhaps something the tomb raiders left behind.
It's a lower part of a pottery vessel, and it has still remains of burning. So maybe they use it for as oil lamp.
It's an important find. An oil lamp is the first direct evidence of the robbers working inside the burial chamber. The question is, when does it date from? And were these robbers responsible for the pyramid's collapse? In Sakara, Meredith is exploring the pyramid of Sahure's father, Usakaf. Deep inside the pyramid's dark corridors, she reaches an opening.
Oh, wow. Oh. This is beautiful. This is it. This is the burial chamber.
The room's huge gabled ceiling is intact, revealing a marvel of ancient engineering. It's a close match to what Sahure's burial chamber would have looked like.
Structurally, this is the smartest thing for the ancient Egyptians to do. They wanted to have the entire weight of the pyramid above this chamber. And where I'm standing, I should be smack in the middle of it. This is interesting. There's a hole here in the back of the burial chamber. So this is probably from looters trying to see if there's anything else they could tunnel through and maybe find more gold or jewels or precious items.
It seems tomb robbers have been busy chiseling away the walls. Parts of the original floor are also missing.
So down here is the bedrock. This is the bottom of the pit that the ancient builders dug in order to create the space for these rooms. So it looks like the ancient thieves came and just dug up this entire area, probably both looking for stone to loot and to see if there's any hidden treasures below.
All over the pyramid, tomb raiders have left their mark. But one incredible treasure still remains.
This looks to be the basalt sarcophagus lid that would have housed the mummy of Usarkov. So this is the actual lid of his sarcophagus. We only have a fragment. This is where the king would have been buried.
While the rest of his sarcophagus may have been stolen, for Sahure's father, the structure and spirit of his burial chamber has lasted for over 4,400 years.
To feel the solemnness and sacredness of this space, it's It's quite moving.
Back at the Pyramid of Sahure, the team has discovered even more artifacts the tomb raiders left behind. Mohammed takes them to be examined. He wants to know when they date from, so he can piece together the pyramid's history.
We have found 3 oil lamps from the burial chamber.
Inside the pyramid?
Yes.
Dr. Riham Zaki is in charge of documenting the finds at the site.
This is nice. So we have our robbers, you know. When you read about treasure hunting or tomb raiders in the past, and you ask in your mind how this information come from, what is the evidence of this? So these are the evidence. It is an oil lamp, I think from medieval times, maybe the 13th century. You know, based on the features like the handle and the shape of the body, and also the glazed color and technique, all of us information about which time they were used.
The lamps appear to be around 700 years old, from the Ottoman era, over 1,000 years after even the last pharaohs of Egypt.
These items are quite rare because, you know, we always read in references and books that we are tomb raiders or treasure hunting. And we saw the evidence inside the historic Cairo, but not inside the pyramids itself.
The remarkable collection of oil lamps indicates a whole team of robbers inside the pyramid. And there's even evidence of their tools of the trade.
We have this hammer and we have this chisel. And actually, as modern times, they use this and use this to push, to knock it, like this. So these together fitting perfectly with each other, you know, by knocking them. The hole is perfectly matched, and they use it inside the pyramid. So we have the whole context here. We have the lamps and we have the robbing tool.
Back inside the pyramid.
So it's very good news. We have reached the original floor of the burial chamber. We have to be very careful, and we have to use only the brush just to see any mortar or any traces that left by ancient Egyptian. I'm very happy every time when I see any original wall or floor inside the pyramid.
The white limestone floor is intact. But so far, the only evidence of the original walls are small broken fragments.
We found also another smooth limestone surface that comes from the retaining walls of the burial chamber. That means that the retaining walls of the burial chamber in this area was broken in several pieces.
Once again, Mohammed thinks it's the work of tomb robbers.
They were searching for some treasures, and that's why they cut here.
Discoveries of oil lamps, stone cutting tools, and intentionally damaged walls mean evidence is growing that tomb raiders were responsible for the pyramid collapse. So could evidence of the king still be buried inside?
حاجة ريس. Ooh.
Mohammed's team has spotted hints of a large slab of basalt stone inside the ancient pyramid.
عايزين ننظف الحتة دي وعايزين نشيل ده. It extends towards the burial chamber. So what we are going to do now is just to clean this area around in order to see how far this large piece goes. I don't know how large it is, but it seems to be a very large piece. It's getting more exciting.
The team add a gypsum mortar to stabilize the loose debris and continue to dig. What emerges seems to be part of King Sahure's sarcophagus lid.
It's almost 1 meter and 30 centimeters. It's the largest piece that ever been discovered in this burial chamber of King Sahure. I can't believe my eyes. Definitely it's the lid, because here we have another piece. It's the corner. It's very smooth surface here. I cannot express my feeling now. I need to know more and more, and I'm calming myself a little bit because I need to flip it on the other side to see the smooth surface. Maybe we could find some written inscription on it, maybe not. We will see.
With the lid lying upside down, Mohammed examines underneath.
Wow. It's perfect.
It seems bare, but he spots something unexpected attached.
They're actually ropes. So those are the ropes that they were used to pull the lid. You see them? This is ancient ropes, maybe 700 years old. And they were using them in order to take this lid out. Wow.
The ropes are an extraordinary clue. Either the tomb raiders gave up dragging the lid, or something else stopped them from leaving with their loot.
Oh, yes.
Perhaps even a fatal accident.
Another part of a jaw, small one, under the lid of the sarcophagus. It's amazing. Maybe the people, when they were doing this work, something happened, and they were buried just waiting for us to discover the lid and the tomb raider.
It's an incredible discovery for Mohammed and the team. Not only have they revealed a royal sarcophagus lid, the first in Abu Sir, but they have stumbled across an ancient crime scene where tomb raiders may have been killed by the pyramid they were looting. The team will keep digging for more evidence to why it collapsed. Mohammed hopes it will lead him to the king.
This is definitely the biggest thing until now that we found here during our exploration inside the pyramid of Sahure, and we hope we will find the sarcophagus.
Less than a mile away from the pyramid are the scattered ruins of a huge structure built by Sahure's nephew. According to ancient records, Sahure and his successors each built temples like this one, separate from their pyramids. But mysteriously, Sahure's has never been found. Meredith Brand has come to investigate what these buildings were for. Among the ruins, she finds a gigantic alabaster offering table.
Oh, this is absolutely stunning. I love this. It's a beautiful piece of stone and craftsmanship. This is well over 4,000 years old, but its shape is a bit strange for ancient Egypt. Each side, there's 4 corners of it that have the ancient Egyptian symbol hetep for offering. And that's usually what's on an offering table, but this one has something special in the 4 of them. But even more so, in the center is a giant circle in the shape of the sun. The design of this tells us exactly what's going on here. It tells us that this is the place where ancient Egyptian priests would have left the offerings for the sun god to consume.
In addition to their pyramids, Sahure and other 5th dynasty kings built dedicated sun temples to amplify the importance of the sun god Ra. As well as for religious purposes, sun temples functioned as economic institutions endowed with land and wealth. Each day, worshippers presented offerings of meat and beer at the temple's altar. After Ra consumed the food's spirit, it was redistributed like a tax to serve the needs of other temples across Abu Sir. An ancient papyrus that dates to around 100 years after Sahure's reign reveals the economic importance of these temples.
This here is an accounting record. It's basically like a spreadsheet. And at the top, it says where goods are coming from. And then underneath it, it says the type of good. And then the vertical columns are days of the week. And here we've got some key things. We've got 2 rows that talk about bread. And we have this 3rd row that says heneket. That's the word for beer. So these are crucial material goods, offerings, but also they were basically money for the ancient Egyptians. So in terms of jars of beer, this upside down V, that's the number 10. So each day there were 10 jars of beer being sent from here just to one location. And that's only one of the transactions that happened here every single day. So having this place be a depot center that took in money and then sent it back out again to other places meant that this was an economic hub.
Sun temples not only provided jobs for high-status elites, but a new way for the country to distribute goods and wealth. The shift towards building separate sun temples, instead of the colossal single pyramid projects like those at Giza, marks a revolutionary step for the religion and economy of ancient Egypt.
5th dynasty kings like Sahure were part of a new emphasis on the sun Ra, where the sun was the most important god. And temples like this attest to this change in religion, change in belief, and also the idea that temples are a key part of the economy. They're a key focus of art and beauty as well. And that carries on for the rest of ancient Egypt.
And yet, the whereabouts of Sahure's own sun temple is still unknown.
Sahure must have built a sun temple. We know of it because of the Abusir papyrus, but we've never found the actual temple. It's one of those mysteries.
Could clues to its location lie beneath the rubble inside Sahure's pyramid? Back in the burial chamber, the team finished surveying and documenting the precious sarcophagus lid. As they prepare to flip it over, their anticipation is growing.
We are not sure if it will be some line of hieroglyphic inscription or not. We will see right now. Hop! Hop! The body of the lid and the smooth surface is in a good condition. No inscription, nothing.
There are no clues inscribed in the stone of Sahure's sarcophagus lid, but Mohammed finds an unusual hole.
Or maybe the tomb raiders itself, they cut it in order to move it from above the sarcophagus, just to move the lid a little bit.
As the team move the lid safely into storage, Mohammed returns to see if more fragments of sarcophagus are buried underneath.
So here there are more pieces from the basalt lid, as well as the rope, and not that they were using in order to pull the lid out. There are more basalt pieces here, so maybe we could find the rest of the lid here down, but we have to clean this area.
The team carefully clear away the rubble. But it's not more of the lid that they find.
Oh, we found here also another piece of a skull, human skull.
It seems to be part of an ill-fated tomb raider. Together, the ancient ropes, the chiseled-out walls, the Ottoman-era oil lamps, and now the remains of a tomb raider crushed by the pyramid. Evidence is mounting to explain how the burial chamber collapsed.
I believe that they were everywhere here inside the pyramid, just searching for treasures and destroying all the inner walls, and that's why the destruction happened.
Despite myths of booby-trapped pyramids, the evidence reveals a long history of looting that eventually led to this pyramid's demise. Muhammad thinks robbers first stole from the pyramid during a period of widespread looting around 3,000 years ago. While inside the burial chamber, thieves likely displaced the king's sarcophagus lid to hunt for jewelry and amulets. Later, around 700 years ago, evidence shows Ottoman stone thieves chiseled away the limestone walls, searching for more hidden treasure. But their efforts weakened the structure, and while dragging away the sarcophagus lid, at least one robber was killed by a catastrophic collapse. The excavations have revealed the pyramid's remarkable history. Now Muhammad is more determined than ever to reach the back of the burial chamber, where the rest of the sarcophagus could still be in its original place.
We found many basalt parts. We believe that all of them comes from the lid, nothing from the sarcophagus. That's why we believe that the sarcophagus is still intact, because it's still far away, up to 6 meters to reach the sarcophagus. I'm very excited. You cannot imagine.
For 2 weeks, the team continues to clear rubble and go even deeper into the burial chamber. They build a new temporary wall to shore up the sides and a column to support the next gigantic limestone ceiling beam. But there's a problem.
Yesterday, I was really disappointed because we found out that this beam is totally broken from the edge. Now we have to change completely our plan because it's dangerous to leave the beam almost in the middle of the burial chamber.
The broken ceiling beam is only supported by the rubble beneath and their temporary column to the side. If they excavate, any movement could bring down tons of stone debris from above. To make the pyramid safe again, the team will need to build another supporting pillar to help prop up the broken beam. It's a huge setback, and time is against them.
We have only just 2 weeks ahead of us, and of course this delay our plans. I'm worried, yes. We hope that we will be able to make it. I hope so.
If Muhammad can't secure the beam before the season ends, the burial chamber could be at risk of collapse, and the king's sarcophagus never found. With the season coming to a close, Muhammad calls in a specialist scanning team to map the internal structure of the pyramid. Creating a 3D model will reveal the team's incredible progress during the excavation and help them work out how far could be left to go. In charge of the operation is Abdurrahman Abbas.
Understanding the spaces of any archaeological site helps the archaeologists understanding the engineering, so they can study what is this construction in the past and analyze what's tools has been used to build such great buildings.
With the latest laser mapping technology, the team can produce a 3D model with millimeter precision in a matter of minutes.
The scanner emits about 40,000 points per second, so every second we record thousands of points. Traditional scanners maybe will scan this area in 5 days, but with handheld scanners, as we use today, as you see, will take only 6 minutes.
The results are breathtaking.
Wow, it's fantastic. It's really wonderful.
The scans reveal the pyramid's corridors, 8 fully cleared storeroom magazines,
It's crazy.
and the partially excavated burial chamber in unprecedented detail.
This is the first time that we see the complete plan of the magazine, the complete structure is like this. It's perfect. will help us very, very much in order to get the real and precise measurements, as well as also the new outline of the pyramid from inside. Wow.
Science fiction.
The scans show the team has advanced 4 meters into the center of Sahure's burial chamber. Based on the size of the magazines and the symmetry the pyramid builders used to construct them, Mohammed thinks there are still 4 more meters left to go. Back inside the burial chamber, the team is flat out. They have almost completed the new supporting pillar needed to safely continue the excavations. But time is running out. With only 1 day left, and hopes waning that they can make more progress into the burial chamber, Mohammed calls an end to the season's work. The pyramid is not ready to give up all of its secrets just yet.
If you work in Egyptology, you may find good surprise or bad surprise. We have to stop because this is the end of our season. But of course, I can't wait to come back again to find the sarcophagus and to reach the end of the burial chamber.
With almost all of the internal structure now exposed, the discovery of the king's sarcophagus lid, and an audacious tomb raiding plot, Mohammed's excavations are bringing the mysteries of King Sahure and his forgotten pyramid back to life once again. In its prime, Sahure's pyramid complex would have been the epicenter of the Egyptian economy and religion. On the banks of the Nile, priests would have disembarked, with offerings collected from his sun temple and beyond, and walked along the pyramid's causeway to its mortuary temple for worship of the king. While today the pyramid's splendor has been lost to robbers and ruin, until Mohammed is finished, there remains a chance that Sahure himself is still buried inside. Mohammed's mission isn't over yet.
When I come to Sahure Pyramid Complex, I feel that I'm home. I feel that I'm attached to this king. And in return, I have really a great belief that also this king supports me somehow. That's why I don't stop. I go every time because it gives more and more new information. It changes more and more our history about this great king.
Buried at the back of an ancient Egyptian tomb,
This is the first time that we found this.
lies a mysterious sealed sarcophagus.
This is really surprised. We had found sarcophagi closed, totally untouched.
No one has seen inside for over 2,000 years.
When we take out the lid of the sarcophagus, what happened, we don't know.
They're hoping to find a pristine mummy, perfectly preserved for the afterlife.
Wow, this is amazing.
Egypt, home of the mighty pyramids and the most famous tombs in the world. These iconic structures and the mummies they contained had a single purpose: to help ancient Egyptians overcome death and achieve eternal life. Today, archaeologists across Egypt are searching for new tombs and mummies to understand the extraordinary lengths Egyptians went to achieve life after death. They decode the ancient rituals thought to grant immortality, investigate how Egypt's wealthy elites buried their dead, and search for clues to what happened to these beliefs as ancient Egyptian civilization came to an end. At the ancient settlement of Philadelphia, Egyptian archaeologist Bassem Gehad is excavating a vast necropolis buried beneath the sand.
This is the cemetery of ancient Philadelphia that extends all over this huge space that was occupied for more than 6 centuries.
Philadelphia was once a bustling metropolis during the era of Queen Cleopatra, ancient Egypt's last dynasty. Bassem has spent over 8 years sifting through the desert sand to reveal its hidden secrets.
This site is outstanding because it's completely backed with thousands of tombs and graves.
During previous seasons, Bassem has found mummies and high-quality coffins in shallow graves on the valley floor. This season, he wants to investigate a mysterious shaft high up in the hills above the city. He's hoping to find an unopened tomb with mummies that sheds light on life after death at the end of ancient Egyptian civilization.
I've been studying and excavating graves and tombs down in this flattened area, but here up in the mountains, they might have hidden lots of things, lots of secrets, and that's what we want to reveal.
High up in the rugged hills, far from the valley floor, the ancient citizens of Philadelphia built a series of mysterious graves. They laboriously carved holes into the solid limestone, some of them shallow, others up to 40 feet deep. Here, they buried their dead, around 500 in total, entombing them in rocks. For nearly 1,500 years, no one had any idea that these graves existed. What can these tombs reveal about the owner's beliefs in the afterlife? To uncover what lies at the bottom of the shaft, Bassem's team must piece together several ladders to form one long enough to reach the bottom.
We are doing the proper preparation for the rope and ladder so that everyone would be safe maneuvering and working around this shaft. It looks like this shaft is really deep, almost like 14 meters down. No one would like to fall in this shaft. I mean, this would be the final ticket to the afterlife.
Next, they must raise the mammoth ladder and carefully lower it into the long, dark shaft.
ارفع 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 فوق اعلى اعلى احكم حبلك احكم حبلك.
With the ladder in place, Bassem prepares to make the descent into the unknown.
The moment you start to prepare yourself to get inside the burial shafts, you get really nervous because you have all the good thoughts, but also some bad thoughts.
The shaft is over 40 feet deep. A fall here could be fatal.
It's really deep.
On the west bank of the Nile, near Luxor, American Egyptologist and vintage clothes enthusiast Colleen Darnell has come to the world-famous Valley of the Kings.
Behind each of these doors lies a rock-cut tomb that can often go hundreds of feet into the bedrock.
Colleen wants to decode inscriptions inside these tombs to learn more about what the ancient Egyptians believed happened to them after death. She begins at the tomb of one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs, Seti I.
This is one of the most incredible tombs in the Valley of the Kings. The decoration is sumptuous.
The tomb stretches over 450 feet deep into the hillside. Almost every wall is covered with inscriptions.
The scenes and hieroglyphs on the walls of this and other tombs provide the most valuable sources for understanding the ancient Egyptian beliefs of the afterlife.
One wall in particular draws Colleen's attention.
The hieroglyphs tell us that this is the ritual for the opening of the mouth.
The opening of the mouth ceremony was a crucial step before the king's mummy was ceremonially placed in his coffin and sealed in the tomb.
As the scenes continue, offerings are made to the deceased king. At the conclusion, not only is the mouth of the king opened, but also his eyes. The purpose of this entire set of processes is so that the king, after death, can live again in the afterlife.
The ancient Egyptians believed that when a person died, elements of their soul became separated from their physical body. But the spirits still needed that body in the afterlife. So mummification made sure that the earthly remains stayed intact and recognizable. A priest, wearing a mask depicting the god Anubis, performed rituals to symbolically open the deceased's eyes, ears, and mouth, so that when body and spirit were reunited, the deceased was able to see, hear, and speak in their eternal afterlife.
The ancient Egyptians believed that death was not the end. With the proper preparations, it was merely the beginning of an immortal journey of the soul through the afterlife.
So what did the ancient Egyptians believe their ultimate destination was after death? To find out, Colleen wants to investigate another remarkable tomb in the hidden village of Deir el-Medina. At the ancient city of Oxyrhynchus, 100 miles south of Cairo, a Spanish archaeological team led by Esther Pons Mellado and Maite Mascot Roca is excavating a vast necropolis.
This is a very big necropolis, and with many tombs in different periods, more or less 1,300 years.
Esther and Maite work for different Spanish institutions, but every year they join forces for a dig season in Egypt. They have worked together at this site for over 20 years.
The people say that we are like our sisters because one is blonde, the other is brown the hair, and we have the same size. And they are two people in one.
The relation with Esther is perfect, I think.
We are sisters of Oxyrhynchus.
Oxyrhynchus was a rich burial site used by wealthy ancient Egyptians from the era following Tutankhamun to the age of Alexander the Great and beyond. This season, Esther and Maite plan to excavate a new section of the necropolis. They're looking for mummies that tell them how Egypt's wealthy elite prepared their dead.
We decide to work here. It's a new area. And we have another expectation. We don't know what we can find here.
The team gets to work removing layers of wind-blown sand and debris from the new unexplored area of the site.
we found the shaft. You can see the mouth of the shaft.
The shaft marks the presence of an unexplored tomb.
We know that we had found a tomb, but we don't know what kind of tomb.
The tomb appears to be a large 11-foot deep hole cut into the rocky ground. Sand and debris still cover the tomb's floor.
Okay, Salah, yes. It's Nino, yes. Okay, go there. The workers go down to clean.
The workers quickly clear the loose sand from the tomb. Esther heads down to investigate.
You see? They continue down this. Huh?
The tomb is bare, but a pile of rocky debris appears to be blocking a void at the back.
If we take out this area continues to the north, and it's long, eh?
Esther begins to document the void, but quickly spots an issue.
The problem is the ceiling, because you can see this is a natural rock, and it's not in good condition, and in this moment it's very dangerous to walk here, because you see the rocks, you go down your head, eh? But of course you listen before you go to the shaft.
Esther needs to have the rocky ceiling inspected before it's safe to continue working in this part of the tomb. Only then can she find out what lies hidden behind the debris.
We think we have more surprise in this area because it's amazing.
High in the mountains, near ancient Philadelphia, Bassem is descending a narrow 44-foot deep shaft to explore a new tomb.
What we are looking at now is the core of the mountains.
He's hoping to find a burial chamber with grave goods and mummies that date from the end of ancient Egyptian civilization. At the bottom, Bassem can finally explore.
I'm really excited to investigate what could be inside this room. This is a Ptolemaic period oil lamp. It was placed in this small niche during the funeral and placing of the mummy and the coffins in this room. It's really unique because finding this material in context is something really rare.
The oil lamp is a clue that the tomb dates from the very end of ancient Egyptian civilization. It means someone must be buried here.
Imagine yourself placing one of your family members, his coffin and his mummy inside this room. It must have been really dark. This is really something special.
2,000 years ago, the ancient Egyptians only had ropes to haul themselves and the mummy in and out of the tomb. It would have been difficult and very dangerous. At the other end of the chamber, Bassem can explore no further.
This looks nearly 5 meters long, so it's a really big room. This is an enormous amount of work that has to be done to take out all of this sand from here.
Bassem's team gets to work removing debris from the tomb. It's slow going. Just like the ancient Egyptians, they can only remove the sand, one bucket at a time. The workers spot something buried beneath the sand.
seems that we dropped into a place where there's sort of pottery assemblage. We need to clean all of this debris, and then we start taking it out. We need to get this pottery as complete as we can see it now.
At the Oxyrhynchus necropolis, the ceiling in Esther's tomb has been inspected for safety, and they have been given the all clear to continue excavation work.
For us, it's very important because we can continue, of course, working, and it's not danger.
Esther is searching for mummies that tell her how Egypt's wealthy elite prepared their dead. Under the debris pile at the back of the tomb, the team has made an astonishing discovery.
We found 4 mummies that you can see with the head to the south, with painting, with different with color.
The skeletons of 3 adults and 1 child are covered in fragments of painted funerary wrappings. Being buried without a coffin or sarcophagus indicates that this was a poor, low-status burial.
Perhaps the father, the mother, and the child, but this is not possible to know.
And that's not all. Beneath the skeletons, Esther can make out 2 stone sarcophagi. Crucially, their lids are still sealed.
I was really surprised because in this case, it's the first time that we had found 2 sarcophagi closed, totally untouched.
Sarcophagi like these were only used by the wealthiest Egyptian elites. It's an incredibly rare and valuable discovery.
This is the first time that we found it. Never has found in another part in the necropolis in Oxyrhynchus. When we take out the lid of the sarcophagus, what happened with it, no? This is a surprise.
To find out what secrets lie inside the sealed sarcophagi, Esther's team must first document and carefully remove the mummies on top. But on the surface, the weather takes a turn for the worse. A sandstorm could blow sand into the open tomb and jeopardize the team's delicate work.
When it's really, really bad and the wind is very, very, very strong, we need to stop because it's not possible to work. It's not good for the workers, for the team.
Near Luxor, Colleen is traveling to the remains of the ancient village and necropolis of Deir el-Medina. She wants to understand what the ancient Egyptians hoped awaited them in the afterlife. This remote village was home to the skilled craftsmen who built the pharaohs' tombs in the Valley of the Kings. Colleen heads to the tomb of one of the stonemasons. Despite its relatively small size, it's elaborately decorated.
This is a beautiful scene showing an idealized agricultural landscape, from plowing and sowing to the abundance of plant life along the Nile. This text tells us the name of this agricultural paradise is the Field of Reeds. The Field of Reeds is one of the ways in which the Egyptians could imagine the pleasurable aspects of the afterlife.
The Field of Reeds is an eternal green land of plenty, a perfect version of earthly life. Like the Nile Delta, it is a fertile haven where crops will always grow and magical laborers harvest and till the land for the deceased souls. Here, the immortal souls can live an everlasting life of luxury, hunting and fishing for leisure. But this idyllic paradise wasn't furnished with any home comforts, something the ancient Egyptians had to remedy themselves.
Today, this tomb is empty. When it was first discovered, it was intact, crammed full of objects that had been untouched for thousands of years.
The tomb was discovered in 1886. The original excavators kept meticulous records of everything they uncovered.
There are dozens of items in the list. A lot of them were intended for the burial, specifically made to be placed in the tomb. Some of my favorite are the tools the tomb owner used in life. His sandals and walking sticks, items that he wanted to have with him in the afterlife.
The ancient Egyptians believed that any earthly possessions they put inside their tomb would travel with them to the afterlife. Beneath the temple-like tomb exterior, the vaulted burial chamber was richly decorated with murals depicting the deceased's life. The tomb owner's coffin was one of many, including members of his family, all stacked on top of one another. The rest of the tomb was packed with furniture, including a special funerary bed, chair, and 6 stools. The floor was littered with ceramics and boxes containing cosmetics. It was the family's earthly possessions, all crammed into the space of a removal van, ready to take with them and use in the afterlife. But Colleen spots another scene that suggests a luxurious eternity in the afterlife, surrounded by your favorite things, wasn't guaranteed.
This scene shows knife-wielding gods that guard the portals to the underworld. For the ancient Egyptians, even if your mummy was perfectly prepared, there were still challenges before you reached the celestial realm.
To understand what dangers awaited the deceased on their journey to the afterlife, Colleen wants to travel to one of ancient Egypt's most unusual structures. In Philadelphia, Bassem's team has nearly finished clearing several tons of sand from the tomb. And they've made a major discovery.
What we have here is 2 amazing pottery coffins.
The pottery coffins could provide Bassem with valuable evidence of burial practices and beliefs at the end of ancient Egyptian civilization.
The team is working to understand and investigate what was inside this coffin. We have plenty of sand and soil that we need to work really carefully. We already started to find some skeleton remains like this sternum bone.
To understand more about the coffins and their owners, Bassem plans to remove one from the tomb and take it to his lab for analysis. But moving a fragile 2,000-year-old pottery coffin will be an immense challenge.
I'm really amazed how they have managed to get the coffin and the mummy down to this room. I'm also willing to test the reverse of this process, taking one of the coffins up to the surface.
The team below carefully removes the remaining soil and bones from the coffin. Up top, Bassem gets ready to oversee the lift.
The plan is that we will prepare almost the same size wooden box that was reinforced with beams, and then using the rope, we will take it from the burial chamber up to the surface.
شيل معاه بمروان من قدام يلا. يلا شيل أمانة.
There's a lot of tension in this job to get it done properly. We don't want to lose the coffin.
In the tomb below, the team carefully secures the fragile coffin in the padded box. Up on the surface, Bassem and the workers prepare the winch.
We have to go back to the old school, using the rope to take it up, the same way that the ancient Egyptians used ropes to descend in this burial chamber. It's a reverse process of what was going on 2,000 years ago.
Finally, everything is set. Bassem gives the go-ahead to begin the lift.
شد سنة بسيطة. سنة بسيطة.
In Abydos, Colleen wants to investigate what challenges the ancient Egyptians had to overcome to reach the afterlife.
Abydos was important for ancient Egyptian kings because it was the location of the burials of the first kings of Egypt, and it was very significant for their beliefs in the afterlife.
Colleen explores an unusual structure called the Assyrian.
I've been studying this monument for years, but it's the first time I've been inside. It's absolutely amazing.
Like Seti I's tomb in the Valley of the Kings, the passageways are decorated with elaborate scenes etched into the walls.
This is the god Osiris, represented dozens of times on the walls. And here is his important title, Heka Duat, Lord of the Underworld.
Osiris was one of Egypt's founding gods and lord of a dark underworld realm called the Duat. In a passageway nearby, Colleen inspects a series of reliefs that paint a picture of Osiris's underworld realm. They describe the sun god Ra's nightly journey through Osiris's underworld and his passage through 12 gates, the same journey the soul of the deceased had to make to reach the afterlife.
This is a text that we know as the Book of Gates. There are 12 massive portals or gates through which the sun god must pass, and they represent the 12 hours of the nightly journey.
To reach the afterlife, a person's soul had to follow the sun god and make a long and difficult journey through the lands of the underworld. They had to cross a lake of fire that was patrolled by 4 fearsome baboons who could only be appeased by reciting the correct spell. And they needed to confront a giant serpent who represented Apep, the god of darkness and chaos. At the end of their journey, they had to face the greatest challenge of all, the lord of the underworld, Osiris himself.
The journey through the underworld was a perilous one for ancient Egyptian souls.
The deceased's soul was aided and guided by the sun god Ra on its dangerous journey. But if they made it through the underworld, even Ra couldn't help them with the final reckoning.
In order to enjoy a blessed afterlife, the deceased first had to pass the judgment hall.
To learn more about what final test awaited the deceased's soul, Colleen needs to decode some ominous hieroglyphs. At the necropolis of ancient Philadelphia,
سنة بسيطة. يلا.
Bassem and his team slowly lift the fragile 2,000-year-old coffin from the tomb below. The coffin could contain valuable evidence of beliefs and rituals at the end of ancient Egyptian civilization.
على الهادي خالص.
The shaft is less than 10 feet wide, and the walls are fragile. A slip with the box here could cause the walls to collapse, trapping the workers below.
شد يا بابا. ارفع يا حمدي. Finally, we did it. Reborn of the coffin.
The team prepares to take the coffin back to base camp.
It's been very stressful doing this job. Finally, we can call it a day, and we are ready now to take it to the dig house so that we can study.
Bassem will now clean the coffin and analyze the bones to try and unlock their secrets. In Abydos, Colleen is exploring the long, dark passageway beneath the Assyrian. She searches the walls for clues to the final test a person's soul must pass before they can spend an eternity in the afterlife.
This is a representation of the judgment hall of Osiris, what awaited the soul of the deceased. And one of the key elements of this scene is a set of scales. Here the scale pans are empty, but if this were the judgment of an individual person, one pan would have the feather of truth, and the other pan would have the heart of the deceased, weighing whether or not a person had lived a moral life.
By weighing the preserved heart, Osiris would determine how a person lived their life. A pure heart that had lived a virtuous life would be light and balanced with the feather of truth. For an ancient Egyptian, this was the ticket to eternal life, with the sun god Ra himself leading them into paradise. But if the heart was heavy, weighed down by guilt or wrongdoing, Amit, the devourer, would eat it, condemning the soul to live in hell.
The ancient Egyptians feared that if the soul did not pass Osiris's test, they would be damned forever. Here we have the people who have died a second death. They have been set on fire and are condemned to spend eternity upside down.
Failing Osiris's final judgment was a fate the ancient Egyptians feared more than anything else. But if they passed, a tranquil life of luxury in the field of reeds awaited.
What determined whether or not the Egyptians enjoyed an eternal paradise was the morality and the decisions that they made during their earthly lives.
At Oxyrhynchus, the sandstorm has passed and the sun beats down on the workers once again. In the tomb, the anthropologists have removed the skeletons. Esther and Maite are thoroughly documenting the outside of the sarcophagus before they open it.
Now I am cleaning the lid, and after 3 minutes, 4 minutes, open.
They hope the sarcophagus will contain a wealthy, ancient Egyptian elite's mummy.
We are doing a photo.
A lot of photos.
A lot of.
But before the team opens the lid, they need to put on protective masks.
It's dangerous because the air has been many, many years inside this closed.
Sealed ancient burials like this can contain dangerously harmful bacteria and mold. Now, Esther and Maite can finally open the sarcophagus and reveal any secrets hidden inside.
No, 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 no. Espera un momentito. No, espera.
Esther spots a problem with the lid.
Look this. This is part of the lid of the sarcophagus, but this limestone is very bad. No, no, no. Como que no? No, it's not possible.
Fearing the lid could crumble onto whatever lies inside the sarcophagus, Esther and Maite decide to call for specialist help.
He is Bernard. He is Bernard, restorer of the excavation.
Bernard confirms that they can't risk taking out the sarcophagus lid in one go, so they carefully remove it, piece by piece instead.
This is amazing. Wow, beautiful.
At the Oxyrhynchus necropolis, the team carefully removes the final pieces of the fragile sarcophagus lid.
Wow. Very good. Very, very good. Inside, there is a mummy with all the cartonized bandage with color blue, red, cream, and black.
It's very, very, very beautiful. I think it's complete.
It's a stunning find. An intact and richly decorated high-status mummy.
I'm very excited. I'm very happy also.
The mummy is covered in an elaborately painted funerary wrapping called a cartonnage. Its colors are still vivid after more than 2,000 years sealed away inside the sarcophagus.
It's one of the big discoveries in Oxyrhynchus, really, because it's the first time you have found this kind of mummy with the cartonnage, with the color, the decoration of the cartonnage, and complete.
The mummy's opulent cartonnage indicates that this ancient Egyptian was part of the wealthy elite. The exquisite decoration offers a valuable insight into how wealthy ancient Egyptians prepared for their afterlife. The cartonnage was mostly made from linen or papyrus. Covered in plaster, it was molded to the shape of the mummy beneath. The mask was specially painted to resemble the deceased, with gold skin and blue hair symbolizing divine status. They decorated the broad collar with a winged sun, representing power and godliness. And on the abdomen was the winged goddess Nut, who protected the deceased. Mimicking many elements of a royal burial, a cartonnage gave wealthy Egyptians the best chance of reaching the divine afterlife.
For them, it's very important to be protected with the gods and with the goddess. It's very important in the afterlife.
This wealthy individual could have afforded a rich and comfortable life, and they used their wealth to ensure their death was comfortable too.
It's amazing, and it's very important for the history of Oxyrhynchus.
It's for us very exciting to discover this. For my has been wonderful. Today have a very special day.
At Bassem's base camp in Philadelphia, the team is analyzing the pottery coffin, grave goods, and the skeleton found inside the tomb. Bassem hopes they offer clues to ancient Egyptian beliefs at the end of the civilization.
Now we know that he's a male from the investigation of the skull and also the pelvis. Looking through the teeth here, it's clear that he has a very good conditioned teeth, meaning that he was fed very well.
The teeth indicate this was a wealthy individual who could afford a substantial diet, a theory supported by the size of the man's coffin.
This is one of the largest examples of the pottery coffin that we have ever found in this cemetery. So this gigantic coffin was made specifically for this guy. The collection of the material, including the human remains, coffin, and everything fits very well with the early Ptolemaic period. These people might have been those who witnessed the early days of Philadelphia.
Bassem believes the coffin, grave goods, and partially mummified remains date from near the end of ancient Egyptian civilization. But the tomb's deep shaft, cut into the bedrock, and evidence of mummification are much older burial practices that were popular for thousands of years.
People were keen on having the same kind of rituals and were following the same tradition of the pharaonic period during the early Ptolemaic period.
The Ptolemaic period was ruled by a dynasty of Greek pharaohs. But Bassem finds no evidence of Greek influence amongst the objects from the tomb.
So one of the interesting finds that we have found is this pot with the coin inside. Placing this coin into the coffin is really important.
Placing a coin with the deceased was originally an Egyptian burial custom, but the practice went on to become a popular Greek tradition.
It's like the ticket for the afterlife.
Bassem's finds reveal that even at the end of ancient Egyptian civilization, belief in an afterlife was fundamental. And how your body was treated and the tomb you were buried in were critical to achieving immortality. This belief was so strong that it even influenced later civilizations.
They don't consider death as the end of anything. They consider death as a gate for another life.
Today, archaeologists are uncovering new information about the elaborate rituals and vast resources ancient Egyptians devoted to achieving life after death. The wealthiest filled their tombs with offerings and covered their bodies in lavish cartonages so the gods would help them on their way. And at the end of a 3,000-year-long civilization, an obsession with living for eternity was still one of their most fundamental beliefs. In some ways, they succeeded. Their elaborate tombs and mummified remains are one reason their stories are still told today. In one of Egypt's most sacred burial grounds,
Oh my God, something is here.
archaeologists discover a doorway to a tomb buried beneath the sand.
I think this is a corner of the entrance, so we're gonna have to remove this gravel.
They are hunting for evidence of Egypt's last queen, Cleopatra.
Oh my God. There's something inside.
In ancient Egypt, one name has passed into legend, immortalized in plays, books, and Hollywood film: Cleopatra. But the real Cleopatra is an enigma, and even during her own lifetime, she was shrouded in myth. Today, archaeologists across Egypt are searching through the rare clues left behind in temples and tombs to discover the reach of Cleopatra's power and reveal how much of her legend was propaganda created by her political rivals in a quest to uncover the real queen behind the myth. In the Sakara necropolis, Japanese archaeologist Nozomu Kawai is investigating a mysterious tomb that dates to the time of Cleopatra.
Sakara is one of the biggest necropolis in Egypt, but no one has ever excavated on this eastern escarpment of the North Sakara Plateau. So we are one of the first explorers to investigate this area.
In 2019, he made an intriguing discovery: the entrance to a many-chambered underground tomb, or catacomb. One brave team member crawled into the narrow space, and glimpsed mummies and a statue of a goddess. But the dangerous cracks in the walls of the tomb forced Nozomu to abandon his excavation. 4 years later, Nozomu is back to finish the job, and he's hoping to find evidence of Cleopatra's mythology within her own lifetime at this ancient and sacred burial site.
We haven't been able to excavate here almost 4 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we are very pleased to be back.
But getting inside the tomb won't be easy. On the eastern edge of the necropolis, a vaulted mud brick corridor with stairs leads down into the rock itself. Inside, a tunnel plunges into the cliff, the front half filled with wind-blown sand. Further back, at least 3 burial chambers branch off it. Nozomu hopes they contain clues to who was buried here. But after 2,000 years, the rock is dangerously weakened. The slightest disturbance could bring the roof crashing down, trapping its secrets inside forever. Nozomu has enlisted the help of Spanish architect Ignacio Forcade to strengthen the tomb without damaging the delicate remains inside.
It is probably the most dangerous place I have worked so far. You really feel that those stones can fall at any moment.
Ignacio constructs a multi-layered web of metal beams in sections. This should hold the fragile ceiling up, but they need to be careful where they place the supports.
Where we're supposed to put the legs, there's human remains, there's archaeological stuff, so we cannot do it as free as we would want. You go first, I'll follow you.
The team carefully welds the sections together. At the back of the tomb, there have been some serious rockfalls. It's not for the faint-hearted.
This stone probably is around 1,500 kilograms or something like that. So at any moment, they can fall down.
Finally, they install adjustable legs that can extend and move as the team clear the sand from inside.
Okay, now it's in place. So now it's working.
It has taken 2 long months, but finally, the tomb is safe. At the very back of the chamber, Cleopatra's subjects lie undisturbed since Nozomu's discovery in 2019. He calls in mummy expert Salima Ikram to make sense of the jumble of remains.
This is amazing.
At the Dendera temple complex, Egyptologist Meredith Brand is in search of the beginning of the Cleopatra legend. She's looking for one of the only images of the famous queen from before she came to power. She starts at the imposing temple of Hathor.
It's absolutely stunning. I think this is the most beautiful temple in all of Egypt. It's just remarkable.
It was built by Cleopatra's father, Ptolemy Auletes.
This temple represents the moment in time power passes to Cleopatra. This is where her legend begins.
Unlike many pharaohs, there are very few surviving images from Cleopatra's lifetime. But Meredith is looking for one, hidden in a concealed chamber in the heart of the temple.
There's this secret chamber, and no one has access to this. It's so rare to get inside. I've never been in. Oh, wow.
Every inch of the narrow secret chamber is covered in hieroglyphs and pictures.
I bet people haven't been in here for years. And it smells like bats, like bat droppings. It's quite pungent. And what's this here? Okay. This is the figure of a woman. And above that are hieroglyphs that say the ruler of two lands.
The image bears no name, but there's good reason to think this might be Cleopatra.
We know that Cleopatra's father built this temple, and he built it in around 54 BC. And at that time, there were only 2 royal women alive. So this could very well be an image of Cleopatra from the time of her father, Ptolemy Auletes. This is Cleopatra yet to be Cleopatra. This is her beginnings.
Cleopatra VII became Queen of Egypt at the age of 18 and ruled alongside her 10-year-old brother. After a brief reign, Cleopatra was ousted and forced to flee to Syria. But she formed an alliance with the Roman general Julius Caesar, and together they crushed her brother's army. Reinstated on the throne, Cleopatra ruled over Egypt for another 17 years and became the legendary queen we know today. This image was probably commissioned by Cleopatra's father when she was young. Temple imagery was an important way for pharaohs and their families to project their power and connect with the gods.
If this is Cleopatra, she already has an affinity, a connection to the goddess Isis. There's the crown of Isis.
The religious symbolism associated with the teenage Cleopatra would continue to be an important part of her identity in later life.
So much has been written about Cleopatra, covering her legendary beauty, her ruthless politics, and even her drinking habits. I want to find out if any of these are true. I want to find out the woman behind the myth.
In Aswan, at the nobles' necropolis of Aga Khan, Abdelmonem Said is hunting for undiscovered tombs from the time of Cleopatra. Abdelmonem started his career here 30 years ago, but his love of Egyptology is as strong as ever.
You can't imagine. You open something has already been closed so long a time ago. And it's fantastic. It's a very nice feeling, especially if you love your job.
He's found a promising new tomb that he hopes he can date to Cleopatra's reign. Aswan is 500 miles from Cleopatra's capital in Alexandria. So if the tomb does date from her era, Abdelmonem hopes it can provide clues as to how Cleopatra kept control of her vast lands. The first clue to the tomb's date is that it is hewn out of the rock with no built features. This was common for Cleopatra's era here in Aswan, when space was at a premium after a population boom.
During this period, they had needed so many tombs in one time. That's why they were in a hurry to dig inside the mountain itself directly.
Abdelmonem and his team have to clear the entrance of sand and debris before they can enter the tomb. In the 100-degree heat, it's punishing work. Finally, he can get a good look inside.
I can see crypts. It's a big one.
In the temple complex at Dendera, Meredith Brand is investigating one of the most persistent legends about Cleopatra, her striking appearance.
One of the mysteries of Cleopatra is her beauty. Certainly to Hollywood, she was a gorgeous woman, one of the most exquisite that ever lived.
But what did Cleopatra really look like? Her body has never been found. There are detailed descriptions of her, but they come from Egypt's biggest political rival. Rome. One Roman historian described her on the day she first met Julius Caesar.
I have an account from the Roman poet Lucan, and he describes her beauty in a very specific way. And in her baleful beauty, Cleopatra was lavishly painted. Lucan describes Cleopatra as excessively made up, completely painted.
For the Romans, wearing this much makeup was deeply uncivilized. Women were supposed to be demure and restrained.
They had a message they wanted to say about Cleopatra, and they wanted to let everybody know that the way she presented herself, the way she conducted business, the way she conducted politics was unacceptable for a woman.
In ancient Rome, women were banned from holding political office. They wanted to discredit the very idea of a female ruler and justify why they had to conquer Egypt for themselves. But was there a kernel of truth in the Roman propaganda of Cleopatra as a dangerous painted beauty? A nearby inscription holds an important clue.
Oh, this is a great scene. It shows a bunch of offering bearers in a line carrying offerings to the gods. And this one here, he's carrying these little balls in a bowl, and above it is the hieroglyph indicating that this is eye paint. It was so important that the ancient Egyptians inscribed eye paint offerings on the walls of the temple. It was this vital.
In Egypt, eye makeup was a symbol that connected its people directly to a founding myth of their religion, the legend of the Eye of Horus. In an epic battle for the fate of Egypt, Seth, god of chaos, ripped out the Eye of Horus, god of the sky. But the divine mediator, Thoth, stepped in and magically restored Horus's damaged eye. The Eye of Horus was one of the most important symbols in Egyptian culture. Wearing it was believed to offer protection and healing. Cleopatra's dark, painted eyes symbolized the Eye of Horus, bestowing the god's protection and connecting her to their power.
So this Eye of Horus is something Cleopatra would have looked at and would have understood that eye makeup was the way that you make yourself like Horus. It's the way you make yourself divine. This was the standard for ancient Egyptian beauty, for the humans and for the gods.
Cleopatra, like many pharaohs before her, presented as heavily made up to her Egyptian subjects. But in Cleopatra's case, the propaganda served a second purpose. Because she wasn't actually Egyptian. She came from a long line of Greek Macedonian rulers.
Greek and Roman women did not dress like ancient Egyptian women. They didn't wear the complete full face of makeup. So to Romans, to see Cleopatra, a Greek Macedonian woman, dressed in full ancient Egyptian style with the eye paint would have been quite shocking.
Cleopatra's physical appearance was central to her queenly power over Egypt. She wore makeup to reinforce her position as an Egyptian pharaoh, even as she faced Roman disapproval.
We look at Cleopatra and we ask the question, was she beautiful? Instead, the question should be, how did she use all of the gifts she had to rule Egypt as best she could?
In Sakara, mummy expert Salima is trying to make sense of the dozens of coffins and skeletons in the catacomb.
This catacomb is fabulous.
She starts at the rear, an area that the sand drifts from outside haven't reached. She wants to understand more about the people this tomb was originally built for.
You've got this Greek facade, and you've got the name of the deceased over here, and there's some Greek text up above, which is very, very eroded. In the time of Cleopatra, you get this cocktail of ancient Egyptian and Greek traditions.
Each original burial in this catacomb was sealed into a side chamber, and then marked with the name of the deceased in Greek. Cleopatra installed elite nobles in positions of power across Egypt, This could be one of their tombs. But it's not just the original family that were laid to rest here.
There's a nice, quite big chamber, which has got a large coffin in it. What's interesting is they shoved in the coffin, the deceased is in there, and then later on, after it had been sealed up, they opened it and they put in another body. You've got the really super important person below, and someone who is of lesser importance is on top of this lovely coffin. Is there someone under you? There are two mummies. There's one mummy like this with a head here, and the other one with a head here. So it was quite a crowded coffin.
This catacomb was crammed full of bodies. By the time of Cleopatra's reign, Egypt's most prestigious burial plots were regularly reused. And the fact that this tomb was so popular indicates the people who built it had some influence or power.
If you think that the person who's buried is important and powerful, then maybe their magic, their protection, both in this world and the next, would be something that could be extended to both you and your family.
While Selima is looking at the mummies, Nozomu starts an investigation into an anomaly by the tomb's entrance.
Here, we have bedrock and white plaster, and stones completely different from the bedrock.
He hopes the layer of plaster is covering an entrance to an undisturbed burial chamber.
I have worked in Egypt more than 30 years. This is the first time for me to encounter such unsealed burial chamber. I'm really excited to explore this.
In Aswan, Abdelmonem is inspecting a tomb that he hopes dates to the time of Cleopatra.
It has many niches, which means also it was a family tomb, not just a tomb for one person.
He decides it's safe for the team to start work inside.
I thought that it was a tomb for one person, but something unusual that we found.
The tomb is full of wind-blown sand and debris, and they have to clear it all.
We should be careful with every centimeter of sand we remove. Anything, small beads, a small ostraka, can show us the history of the tomb. Look at the design of the pottery with nice lines at the edge, which she has the Greek design. Those lines here at the top.
The pottery sherd bears a typically Greek design. Because Cleopatra came from a long line of Greek pharaohs, it's compelling evidence that the tomb dates to her dynasty.
So every time we have more evidence about this tomb, which she sure and completely, maybe I can say now 100%, that was a Greek tomb.
But the team needs more evidence to connect the tomb to Cleopatra.
Wow. I think it can be a part of a column of the crypt itself. As we can see, that is not just the stone itself. No, they started to smooth this face of the stone. They started to add a little bit of the plaster on it.
Ancient Egyptian tomb builders used plaster as a base for inscriptions.
He couldn't inscribe on the granite directly. It was so difficult, so they had to cover the tomb by plaster made of mud brick and a little bit of sand to be easy for inscriptions. There should be hieroglyphic inscriptions between the two lines, but unfortunately, because it hadn't been finished, so they didn't start the inscription of hieroglyphic between the two lines after they prepared.
There are no inscriptions on the plaster, a sign the tomb owner died before the structure was finished. It's a setback for the team. They continue digging, hoping for more clues.
Good, very good. Wow.
In Sakara, archaeologist Nozomu Kawai is working on the sealed entrance inside a catacomb dating from the time of Cleopatra.
one hand, I'm nervous. On the other hand, I'm very excited to see what is behind.
He's hoping the entrance leads to an undisturbed part of the catacomb. But there's a problem.
I thought we're gonna investigate inside, but we found several cracks in the bedrock. It will be risky.
If Nozomu breaks the seal, he could collapse an entire section of the crumbling catacomb. It's a setback. But then he spots a small hole in the plaster. He decides to feed an endoscope camera into the void behind.
Just follow the wall.
Maybe up. Yes. This bones.
Oh, yeah.
Skeleton.
Oh my God.
And fragments.
Oh, yeah, from the ceiling.
Yes,
So there is a
yes.
barrier. Yeah, behind this wall. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, but it's not mummified. Yeah, you can see the bone.
They found an undisturbed burial.
And we have the seal, the slab as a sealing wall. We have the depiction of woman here. So if it does represent the owner of the tomb, the person who is buried inside should be a woman. I think this catacomb was originally made for the family burial.
For now, Nozomu can go no further. But he wants to find out if this family, buried in one of the most sacred sites in Egypt, embraced the ideas and mythology of Cleopatra. So he brings in the rest of the team to excavate the debris that has built up in the catacomb's central tunnel. They check every inch of the sand they remove for precious artifacts.
It looks like part of the coffin.
We just found a complete pottery. I think we're gonna find more artifacts.
In Aswan, Abdelmonem Said is looking for definitive proof that the tomb he has discovered dates to the time of Cleopatra. He inspects a promising find from beneath the sands of the tomb floor.
A part of the column. We can see this nice decoration on it.
A distinct decorative pattern runs across the sandstone.
We have the same column in Komombo, in the first hypostyle hall.
The Temple of Komombo lies only 30 miles north of Aswan. It was built during the Ptolemaic era, including in the reign of Cleopatra VII.
Exactly the reign of the king Ptolemy number 12, the father of the famous Queen Cleopatra VII.
Finding the same style of column in the tomb here could mean it dates to the same time.
It can show us that during the construction of this tomb, maybe Cleopatra VII was alive or during her period. Every time, every new item, new stuff inside the tomb, it makes us very close to Cleopatra VII.
With Abdelmonem more sure of the tomb's date, now he is on the hunt for clues to how much influence Cleopatra had here in the south. The team has shifted hundreds of buckets of sand. They are nearing the level of the tomb's original floor.
I can see something like a panel or a part of a panel made of sandstone, the same kind of the stone of the tomb itself. I think it's a part of an offering table.
Abdelmonem carries on digging to see if there's any more beneath the sand.
Wow.
It's a second piece of offering table.
We can see 2 loaves of bread with the pot of water.
Offering tables were very common in ancient Egyptian funerary culture. Families used them to leave gifts of food and drink for the dead. But the table in this tomb is different to the typically Egyptian ones.
That was a Greek design, Greek style.
Cleopatra excelled at promoting a hybrid Greek-Egyptian culture. Abdelmonem's finds suggest that her subjects even embraced these hybrid ideas here in Aswan, 500 miles from her capital. And her influence stretched from Alexandria in the north to the southern reaches of ancient Egypt.
She had a very strong personality. She could keep the country under control. She was very close to the mythology, and of course, she was very close to the Egyptians themselves.
In Sakara, Nozomu and his team have continued to excavate the sand from the tomb's entrance, and they've made some astonishing discoveries. They are analyzing the artifacts in their pop-up conservation tent. The star find is a set of 5 small statues.
We found terracotta figurines from the catacomb. 3 of them are Isis-Aphrodite, and this one belongs to Isis-Aphrodite, but it's not the figure, it's a crown.
The goddess Isis-Aphrodite was a hybrid Greek-Egyptian deity, promoted and embraced by Cleopatra herself.
Cleopatra considered herself as a reincarnation of Isis. It's really interesting to find many Isis figurines from our site.
A fusion of the Egyptian mother goddess and the Greek goddess of beauty, Isis-Aphrodite was the deity of love, fertility, and rebirth. Cleopatra would dress like her at public events to elevate herself from queen to immortal goddess. During Cleopatra's reign, temples to Isis sprang up across Egypt, cementing her importance and, by association, Cleopatra's own power. Isis had such a profound influence on Cleopatra that some say she took her own life in a temple dedicated to the goddess. Egyptian sculpture is usually very stylized, but the statues from Nozomu's tomb are different.
So if you look at the appearance, they don't really show the ancient Egyptian traditional artistic style. Instead, you have more like Greek-Roman facial feature with, like this one, the blonde hair.
The statues suggest that Cleopatra's subjects buried at Sakara embraced this melting pot of cultures and aligned themselves with the legend she promoted. Following the success of the excavation inside the catacomb, Nozomu begins a new investigation just outside the entrance, looking for more clues.
Oh my God. Something is here.
In Luxor, Meredith is exploring the mega-temple complex at Karnak. She is here to investigate one of the most disparaging Roman myths attached to Cleopatra, that she led an extravagant party lifestyle.
Horace writes that Cleopatra's mind is crazed with Mareotic wine, and another writes that her tongue is submerged by incessant wine. This emphasis on Cleopatra and her drinking habits would have hit hard for a Roman audience, because to Romans, women weren't supposed to drink, and certainly they weren't supposed to be drunk in public.
To find out more about the role of alcohol in ancient Egypt, Meredith investigates a lesser-known part of the Karnak complex, the Temple of Mut. On the shores of a sacred crescent-shaped lake in Karnak, the precinct of Mut covered an area the size of over 15 football fields. Pillared porches, around 65 feet long, led to the towering pylon entrances. Within was an enclosed inner sanctum and 2 wide-open courtyards, lined with hundreds of dark granite statues of the lion-headed goddess, Sekhmet. This temple was a major ritual center for over 1,000 years, but it was once the focus for a religious celebration that seemed far from holy.
It says here that this is from the porch, the weh in tech, the porch of drunkenness. This column would have been placed in an area of the Mut temple for the celebration of the Festival of Drunkenness.
The Festival of Drunkenness celebrated a famous Egyptian myth about the near destruction of mankind. The myth tells of Sekhmet, goddess of chaos and war, who went on a killing spree after mankind conspired against her father, the sun god Ra. Ra took pity on man and flooded the land with beer, dyed red to look like blood. Sekhmet drank it all and passed out. So ancient Egyptians celebrated their triumph over death at Sekhmet's temple at Karnak, recreating her stupor in a festival of drunkenness. At the temple's porch of drunkenness, revelers drank until they were sick or passed out, only to be woken by sacred drums to complete the ritual experience.
This festival would have been lively. There would have been musicians, dancers, singers, people chanting the sacred songs of the goddess. They wanted to get so drunk that they would see the goddess, and that takes quite a lot of alcohol.
The porch of drunkenness at this temple is ancient, predating Cleopatra's reign by over 1,000 years. But she may have continued the tradition of sacred drinking, and associating herself with a powerful goddess of war and healing had obvious appeal.
Cleopatra knew that part of being a king meant to be the intermediary between the gods and the people. So it's really likely that Cleopatra would have been part of a festival of drunkenness at a temple in Egypt.
Although the Romans viewed Cleopatra's drinking as excessive and vulgar, maintaining a lively religious tradition would have boosted her popularity in Egypt and promoted her reign as a time of pleasure and prosperity.
This would have been so exciting to be a part of. Not only could you completely party, but you could also form an important spiritual connection. And that would have been probably very appealing for a lot of people.
In Sakara, Nozomu's team inspects a mysterious discovery right next to the entrance of the catacomb.
Wow, this mud brick wall.
The wall could be part of a previously undiscovered structure.
We're gonna extend to see what kind of structure it will be. So this is remain the chisel, you know, cutting. So like digging a tomb.
If this structure is another tomb, it would be a major discovery.
I think this is a corner of the entrance or something, you know, opening. So we're gonna have to remove the this gravel. Yeah.
The team makes quick work of the loose rubble and sand.
Oh my God. There's something inside. I'm gonna bring the camera microscope.
Nozomu uses his endoscope to get a better look.
Yeah. I can clearly see the wooden coffin and skeleton.
It's a small, rock-cut tomb with at least one complete burial. The race is now on to recover any precious artifacts inside. At the Dendera temple complex, Meredith is investigating one of the most malicious stories ever told about Cleopatra, that she was a master manipulator. Meredith wants to find out more about where this idea came from. One of the few images of Cleopatra from the height of her reign is carved into the wall of the temple.
Cleopatra was smart in how she depicted herself. So here in Dendera, she's showing herself as an Egyptian goddess, as an Egyptian queen, as an Egyptian ruler. But that's not the only way she showed herself.
A coin minted during her reign shows a very different side to Cleopatra.
Here she's shown completely Greco-Roman. She has a melon hairstyle with a diadem. She has a very Roman nose, and she's almost seen as a bit masculine.
There's a good reason why Cleopatra manipulated her image like this. She didn't just need to persuade her own Egyptian subjects that she was their true queen. She also needed to face down the threat of invasion from the ancient world's biggest superpower, Rome.
These coins would have been distributed around Egypt. They would have shown Cleopatra's other side, her ability to speak Greek, her ability to speak Latin, her ability to connect with the Greco-Roman world.
At first, Cleopatra kept Rome close by forming an alliance with Julius Caesar. But when Caesar was assassinated in 44 BCE, Cleopatra needed another way to protect her homeland. 3 men now ruled the Roman Empire, one of whom was General Mark Antony.
When Caesar died, everything changed. Cleopatra needed to impress a new Roman ruler, General Mark Antony.
There are lots of stories about how Cleopatra seduced Mark Antony, but one is particularly revealing. Mark Antony had a reputation for throwing lavish banquets. Cleopatra wagered that she could outdo him. For her first course, she served a large but everyday meal. Mark Antony scoffed at its cheapness. He was certain he had won the bet. But then Cleopatra set down a goblet of vinegar and dropped her enormous pearl earring into it, worth many millions of dollars in today's money. The pearl dissolved in the vinegar, making it the most expensive cocktail in the world. With it, Cleopatra won and sent the general an important message.
She's showing Mark Antony that all of this grandeur is something that she has and she controls. If he wants political power, he needs Cleopatra, not the other way around.
Cleopatra formed a lasting alliance with Mark Antony that kept Rome at bay. And while some legends say she manipulated him into a dangerous love affair, it's more likely she was a shrewd political operator who offered him a mutually beneficial union.
Cleopatra was a master of politics. She was a master of culture and image. She could do something that no other ruler could. She could pull on different cultures, different costumes to say so many things and express ideas. And she did that really effectively.
In Sakara, Nozomu is carefully inspecting the newly discovered rock-cut tomb with Salima.
I'm looking forward to seeing inside.
They are looking for clues to date the burial.
Oh, Nozomu, you didn't say that it had grave goods.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. And so the termites have eaten away the entire coffin.
So, yeah. So we can understand the shape of the coffin by the nest of the termites.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
The outline of the termite nest suggests that the coffin was small and square, with the occupant crouched inside. This crouched burial is a far older funerary ritual than those of the nearby catacomb. But they need more evidence to date the tomb for sure.
This is stone vessel, not the pottery.
No, it's definitely a stone vessel, but it looks like those beautiful limestone platters.
Yeah, datable to the Second Dynasty. So approximately 4,700 years ago. Very nicely polished.
The platter is alabaster and dates the burial to the very beginning of the age of the pharaohs, 3,000 years before Cleopatra. It's one of the oldest surviving tombs ever discovered in Sakara. And it could shed light on why the catacomb is next door.
The people at the time of Cleopatra built this catacomb. It's really interesting. The people kept using the same part of the necropolis as this early dynastic burial, just next to the Greek-Roman catacomb.
Cleopatra disguised her Greek origins behind a very Egyptian mask. And the wealthy occupants of this large catacomb could have been following her lead by building their final resting place beside their most ancient Egyptian ancestors.
This is totally unexpected. I'm really happy to find this unique burial during this season.
Today, archaeologists across Egypt are uncovering new revelations about its last enigmatic queen, Cleopatra. They are revealing that her power stretched to the farthest reaches of her kingdom, and that her subjects embraced the mythology she created. In return, she used her wealth, power, and keen political mind to protect her people, leaving behind a legend that has endured for over 2,000 years. Deep inside a rock-cut tomb in Egypt's far south, an archaeologist is searching for a missing mummy.
The surface is full of stones, pottery, human remains.
He's hoping to unlock the secrets of a mostly forgotten age of vast megatombs.
We have bandages. Okay. Christina, are you there?
The pyramids of Giza and the Valley of the Kings, icons of ancient Egypt constructed 1,000 years apart. In between, ancient Egyptians built other spectacular but lesser-known tombs. Today, across Egypt, archaeologists are exploring these tombs to find out more about this mysterious period of Egyptian history called the Middle Kingdom. How its mighty pharaohs reunited a war-torn country, transforming Egypt and leading it into a new golden age. They're also learning why these achievements and incredible tombs have now been mostly forgotten. Near Luxor, Spanish archaeologist Miriam Seco Alvarez has started her unconventional morning commute.
I love driving in the desert, and I always wanted to do this since I was young.
Miriam is excavating a newly discovered Middle Kingdom tomb. It's part of a sprawling necropolis with a mix of rich and poor burials. She's hoping it will tell her more about Egyptian society during this lesser-known period.
Probably what we see at the end of this corridor is the burial chamber of the tomb. I would like to discover who was the man buried here, what was his position.
To do that, Miriam's team must remove several tons of debris from the steep, narrow corridor with a dangerously unstable ceiling.
Ya Nagdi, yalla, kullu illa mal, yalla. Now a group of very special workers, they will be cleaning this very carefully, and we will go down little by little to reach the burial chamber.
Half a mile further north, at Deir el-Bahari, Egyptologist and vintage fashion collector Colleen Garnell is on a mission to explore the megatombs of the Middle Kingdom's pharaohs. She wants to learn more about their rise to power and why they have been forgotten. She begins at the tomb of the very first king of the Middle Kingdom, a pharaoh called Montuhotep II.
First looking at this structure, it's quite ruined. But it's 4,000 years old, and when it was new, it would have been quite magnificent.
Colleen is exploring exactly what sort of structure Montuhotep built for his tomb.
These columns and the overall layout of the architecture indicate that this is a temple.
Tucked up against the sheer cliffs of Deir el-Bahari, Montuhotep built a vast terraced temple. Inside, over 200 pillars filled the immense hypostyle halls.
The question is, where is the king buried?
In the center of the temple, a trench descends to a tunnel.
This corridor is cut out of the bedrock in this rough vault shape, and it keeps going.
The amount of work that went into this is quite stunning, and I love seeing traces of the original chisel marks right here. This is a marvel of engineering.
Wow. Absolutely unbelievable to be this far down into the mountain.
This is magnificent. The most costly stones that you can use in ancient Egyptian building. This is red granite that would have come from Aswan that they've hauled all the way down this corridor. This is the entrance. This is the entrance to the burial chamber itself.
The burial chamber is 500 feet deep inside the heart of the mountain.
This is astonishing. They went so far as to create that perfect architectural form of a shrine. And these holes here would have been for the doors that sealed in the coffin of the king. And to think that each of these pieces, and they're massive, had to have been brought all the way down this same corridor that I was just descending.
No Egyptian pharaoh before had ever been buried in a tomb like this.
This is a complete departure from tomb architecture in the Old Kingdom. This is not a pyramid. He's signaling that something different has started.
During the age of the great pyramid-building pharaohs, a single king ruled over all of Egypt, from the northern capital of Memphis. But when the last of these pharaohs died, the kingdom fractured, and rival rulers from the north and south vied for power. For decades, war raged between the two factions, until Montuhotep II, the ruler of southern Egypt, ultimately prevailed. He reunited Egypt, moving the country's capital to Thebes in the south, and ushered in a new era, now known as the Middle Kingdom. Montuhotep's unusual burial is a nod to his southern heritage, where terraced tombs cut into the desert were popular.
Montuhotep adapts an architectural form of his local ancestors, but builds it on a monumental scale, adding this massive shaft, making this a tomb fit for a king who has just unified Upper and Lower Egypt.
Montuhotep had led Egypt out of a disastrous period of chaos and civil war. But the country was still scarred by decades of fierce rivalries and warring factions. Next, Colleen wants to explore how Montuhotep's successors faced these challenges in their bid to restore Egypt to its former glory. In Aswan, Spanish archaeologist Alejandro Jimenez Serrano is back for a new season of excavations of the site of Kubet el Hawa.
I used to tell my youngest daughter that I'm cleaning the desert as a joke. And basically, she used to tell me, "Daddy, good luck cleaning the desert."
Alejandro and his team are investigating the tomb of a high-ranking Middle Kingdom official. He's hoping to find out more about how the Middle Kingdom pharaohs governed their war-torn country.
Sarinput I was the governor of the Egyptian border with the south. So he was a key figure in the Egyptian state.
After the reunification under first Middle Kingdom king Montuhotep II, Egypt started to expand, invading Nubia in the south. Sarinput was charged with exploiting this new land for precious resources and exotic goods. He governed Elephantine Island, a vital strategic outpost on this new frontier. Alejandro has spent the last 5 years trying to locate the tomb's main burial chamber and mummy.
It's become a bit of an obsession.
Last season, his team uncovered a monumental shaft and chamber hidden below the innermost chapel of the tomb.
We thought that he was going to be buried there, and we were going to find at least the remains of his burial.
Inshallah.
It is bedrock. It is the bedrock.
Now, Alejandro is back with a new theory.
We think that he was buried there, but then removed some years after, relocated in another part of the tomb.
And the team have just discovered a promising spot in another corner of the chapel.
This is a trench that is in the same part of where we were working last year. And we believe that this might be the last place where Sarinput I was buried. So we are now excavating this, trying to find if we have a chamber, a shaft.
Several hours later, the workers have removed enough sand for Alejandro to take a first look.
Well, this is a very exciting moment because we do not know what we have behind the sand. Let's go. Ooh, 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 ooh. It seems, ooh. Ooh. It's big. Huh.
In Abydos, Colleen is investigating the tomb of a pharaoh who lived 150 years after the Middle Kingdom was founded, to explore how he restored a war-torn Egypt to its former glory.
Absolutely incredible.
Built by a pharaoh called Senwosret III, it is one of the most innovative tombs in the history of ancient Egypt.
This is entirely carved out of the bedrock.
Here we have a massive shaft. It gives you really an idea of how far below the surface I am here.
Colleen investigates a series of small chambers and tunnels.
Wow. Giant granite blocking stones.
260 feet in, pieces of granite, nearly 6 feet tall, block the path deeper into the tomb.
This is a way of symbolically sealing the royal tomb from any outside influences. It's a good indication that we're on the way to the burial chamber.
Colleen explores a roughly cut second tunnel that may have been dug by tomb robbers. It allows her to bypass the sealed corridor.
Wow, this is the burial chamber, and look at that sarcophagus at this totally tilted angle, and it's massive. The amount of work that it would have taken to get this far deep into the tomb. Solid pieces of stone, these are monolithic.
But the tomb doesn't seem to end at the burial chamber.
The sarcophagus is here, but the corridors continue for quite some distance deeper into the tomb.
When the king died, workers hid his sarcophagus in a chamber 130 feet underground. They then sealed the tomb with bricks from floor to ceiling and blocked the steep passage with over 300 tons of highly prized red granite. But strangely, the tunnels continue beyond the burial chamber for another 250 feet. They trace a wide sweeping curve, bending back on itself. At nearly 600 feet long, it's a triumph of engineering unique in the history of ancient Egypt.
The complexity of the corridors, particularly the snaking passageway beyond the burial chamber, is directly based on how the Egyptians imagined the architecture of the underworld itself. This entire tomb is a model of the underworld. It's hard in the modern world to conceptualize how much effort it would have taken to construct this tomb, just the man-hours.
The scale of this colossal tomb shows that Senwosret was both incredibly powerful and able to command huge resources. Records suggest he was a military genius who consolidated his own power across the country and massively expanded Egypt's borders. He didn't just restore his country's former glory, he turned Egypt into a regional superpower.
Senwosret III is one of the most powerful kings of his era. He rules over a time of prosperity, strength in foreign policy, a highly organized administration. His reign really is a golden age in Egyptian history.
But the Middle Kingdom pharaohs weren't done yet. Next, Colleen wants to explore an even more ambitious tomb that contains clues to why these great kings have been mostly forgotten. In Aswan, at the necropolis of Kubet el Hawa,
6 meters and a half. Whew! Ha! Huge! It is huge!
Alejandro is searching a previously undiscovered chamber for the remains of Sarinput, a high-ranking Middle Kingdom official.
The monumentality of this new space, this room, means that someone very important was buried in this area.
Sarinput's burial could provide new evidence on how the pharaohs governed Egypt during the Middle Kingdom.
We need to open more to see what is inside. Yes!
Alejandro brings in his workers to remove the rest of the debris blocking the entrance to the chamber.
Basically, the material that we are excavating now is sand with mainly pottery.
They thoroughly check every shovel of sand they remove. Even the smallest of finds could hold valuable clues.
Aha! Ole, Mabruk!
Near Luxor, Miriam's team is trying to reach the burial chamber of a Middle Kingdom tomb. Workers are making steady progress, removing rubble from the dangerous sloping shaft. Meanwhile, Miriam joins anthropologist Victoria Peña-Romo to examine an intriguing new find from a chamber near the entrance of the tomb. They want to determine whether it's the skeleton of the tomb owner.
This is a man more than 50 years old with a lot of disease and with a lot of damage in the bone. He have break the arm. So someone who work really and carry things, a worker.
It's unclear how this man's skeleton ended up here, but their analysis suggests it's unlikely he's the true owner of such a large tomb. The team needs to get to the burial chamber. But back inside, the excavation has come to a sudden halt.
Ya Nagdi. Yalla, kullu gahes? We found a big block. So we need to remove this big block to have easy access to the burial chamber.
The team is working in a very tight underground space. They can't finish clearing the corridor without removing the boulder.
They will tie this rope around the rock. And they are going to make like a chain to pull up the big block. Halibalak, eh?
بالراحة خلاص صلي على النبي صلي على النبي يا راجل صلي على النبي يا راجل بالراحة.
The boulder weighs over 550 pounds. It's tough work moving such a heavy object in the cramped and steep corridor. And yet, this stone is only a fraction of the weight of the sarcophagi and granite blocks moved by the workers in ancient times.
It's a very complicated action.
Halfway up, the team hits a major obstacle, an original wall built out of one of the Middle Kingdom's most used materials, mud brick. In Aswan, at the site of Kubet El Hawa, Alejandro is inspecting a small object they found just outside the newly discovered chamber.
We have just found an amulet made of faience. Probably was part of a necklace, and it seems that it has an inscription.
He is hoping to find any evidence that the Middle Kingdom official, Sarinput, was buried inside.
Mary Amum, beloved of the god Amum. I need to see under the sun. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I want to see more carefully. It's Horemheb, Mary Amum. Horemheb, beloved of Amum.
The amulet dates from the time of Pharaoh Horemheb, who reigned more than 300 years after Sarinput. It would have been a gift from the pharaoh to someone of high rank, who then took it with them to their grave. It shows how important it is for the team to sieve every single spade of sand.
It is special. You know, Kubet El Hawa is not a royal necropolis.
A find like this, from a much later period, could be a sign the chamber was reused after Sarinput, meaning his remains may now be lost. Alejandro has to get inside to know for sure. While the workers clear the remaining sand from the doorway, Alejandro joins the rest of his team outside. They've set up a second excavation area just in front of the main tomb entrance.
We've noticed that here we have some rubble What we are seeing here is the material, the rubbish produced by the construction of the tomb was deposited here.
Alejandro is hoping this 4,000-year-old construction spoil will help them learn more about how Sarinput's tomb was built.
It's something that we have no information before. How was the construction and the decoration process of the funerary complex?
Workers sift through the sand, hunting for clues.
Although we are in winter, this is 30 degrees. It's hard.
Something.
Mabruk.
Near Luxor, Miriam's team is working out how to safely remove the large stone from their Middle Kingdom tomb. The mud brick wall blocking their way is a symbolic barrier that separated the deceased from the world of the living, much like the granite blocking stones in the huge underground tomb of Senwosret.
They are putting this straw blanket on top of the ancient mud bricks in order not to damage them.
Moving large stones in these narrow tunnels is difficult and dangerous work, just as it was for the original tomb builders. One slip could result in a serious injury.
This is always very stressful work when they move big stuff. أيوة يلا.
عنا بصلي. ارفع معه. لا لا. فوق. فوق. صل على النبي. صل على النبي. أو على اللمبة. أو على اللمبة.
الخشب الخشب.
على الخشب على الخشب. يجي عندي يجي عندي. ثواني علي ما يقلبش عليكم.
Well done. Very good job.
هنا هو سقف فلاج يقول صلي على النبي وسقف صلي على النبي صلي على النبي يا مولي.
The rock is out. Now we have the way free to go inside the burial chamber. We will see now what we have. This moment, it is always the most important and most amazing moment. We have bodies.
In Dashur, Colleen has come to a pyramid field 20 miles south of Giza. She wants to explore one of the Middle Kingdom's most ambitious megatombs, the Black Pyramid. It was built by a pharaoh called Amenemhat III, the son of Senwosret, who built the 600-foot-long underground tomb in Abydos.
This is a truly amazing place. And although it doesn't look like too much today, this was once a massive pyramid, just like we see out in the distance.
Today, only the core of the pyramid remains, standing in a pile of its own rubble. But it once rose 250 feet above the valley floor. When first built, the Black Pyramid was just over half the height of the Great Pyramid at Giza. It was finished in a smooth outer casing of white limestone. Underneath it, a mysterious maze of tunnels crisscrossing through the ground. Lined with huge stone blocks, and totaling around 900 feet in length. They led to numerous storerooms and the burial chambers intended for Amenemhat's queens and the king himself. The Black Pyramid was designed to be one of the most elaborate tombs in Egyptian history. Colleen wants to explore why Amenemhat departed so radically from the rock-cut tombs of the Middle Kingdom's founders. She looks for clues in the network of tunnels beneath the pyramid.
Wow. This system of underground passageways is unbelievable.
It's like a maze down here. The only other pyramid with similar underground architecture is the first pyramid ever constructed in Egypt, the step pyramid of Djoser at Sakara, constructed nearly 1,000 years earlier.
Djoser was revered as one of Egypt's most powerful pharaohs. His pyramid, built around 2650 BCE, sat on top of 3.5 miles of tunnels, hollowing out the ground below. No other pharaoh attempted to mimic Djoser's design until Amenemhat.
This pharaoh was really trying to show himself in relation to Egypt's first pyramid builder.
This was a hugely ambitious move, but also a strategic one. The young king had inherited a vast and prosperous kingdom from his warrior king father. With no need to mount further military campaigns, Amenemhat needed a different way of projecting his power. Linking himself to Djoser and the pyramid kings of old was a way to do that.
Amenemhat III's ambitions with this monument was to draw a connection between his reign and the golden age of the pyramids.
Next, Colleen wants to investigate whether Amenemhat's ambitious design paid off and he was able to match the achievements of the great pyramid kings of old. Near Luxor, Miriam is finally entering the burial chamber of the Middle Kingdom tomb.
Well, I can see many blocks, and we have many fragments of pottery. This will help us to date the tomb. The tomb probably was robbed already in ancient time, and that's why we find all the material mixed.
As with most wealthy tombs in ancient Egypt, the burial chamber has been looted.
But I think we can still get many information about the owner of the tomb.
Miriam searches for any trace of the person who was buried here.
And we have fragment of wood, probably coming from the wooden coffin.
Wood was scarce in ancient Egypt, so a wooden coffin could be a clue that the owner of the tomb was wealthy. Miriam hunts for any human remains.
We have a human skull. This skull could be the owner of the tomb.
Miriam scours the ground around the skull for any clues to what sort of man this was.
I see remains of wood. We have a fragment of a cane belonging to the owner of the tomb.
Miriam thinks this could be a section of a ceremonial staff because of its distinctive shape and diameter, similar to staffs found in tombs across Egypt. Only a small section survives in this tomb, but they were often made from expensive imported wood. They were only used by the highest echelons of Egyptian society. The wooden coffin, cane, and sheer scale of the tomb now paint a picture of the sort of person who was buried here.
It's a very special tomb. We can guess that the tomb belonged to someone from the high society.
This lavish burial is evidence that the success of the Middle Kingdom pharaohs trickled down through Egyptian society and led to the flourishing of a new class of wealthy elites.
This is interesting. For us, every discovery adds new information about this important period of the Middle Kingdom.
In Aswan,
it's difficult to say, but it seems a working tool.
Alejandro is studying the strange stone that's come out of the construction spoil outside Sarinput's tomb.
This is a stone that they use to polish the surface of the rock, to smooth the facade of the tomb. It's amazing.
The team searches for more artifacts deeper in the spoil.
It seems that it's a test from the sculpture, probably trying to test the stone before making the final reliefs of the main door of the funerary complex. It's very interesting because it shows us the process of construction of the tomb.
These finds suggest that Sarinput's tomb was constructed by highly skilled artisans. This fits in with ancient texts from the same period.
We know from the text that Sarinput received a group of royal artisans to build his tomb.
According to the story, Sarinput supplied the pharaoh's army on its way to conquer Lower Nubia. The king sent his own artisans to help construct Sarinput's tomb as a reward. It was a huge honor.
So here, what we have is made by the hands of a royal sculptor.
Back inside the tomb,
Door is finished. Inshallah, it was nice work.
the team have cleared the entrance to the new chamber. Alejandro can finally go inside. In Aswan, at the site of Kubet el-Hawa, Alejandro is entering the new chamber inside Sarinput's tomb. He wants to see whether it contains Sarinput's missing body.
Well, the surface is full of stones, human remains, pottery. We have bandages. Okay.
Alejandro hunts for any clues that will help him date the remains.
The pottery seems to date to the New Kingdom.
Just like the scarab found outside the chamber, the pottery inside dates to the New Kingdom. This confirms that the chamber was reused centuries after Sarinput died, and his remains are nowhere to be found.
It's a real pity. Okay.
It's a unique experience to get into an area where nobody has been since thousands of years. But I found no trace of Sarinput I.
But a mystery remains. Was Sarinput ever buried inside this chamber? Or was it built for someone else?
Now we have to explain which was the purpose in this chamber.
While his team starts processing the material left inside, Alejandro looks for clues in the faded inscriptions throughout the tomb. In the corridor leading towards the chamber,
By chance, I passed by here and I noticed that here there was the remains of an inscription that actually is the name of one of the sons of Sarinput I. So we know who these figures were, and they were the sons of Sarinput.
it's a vital clue that Alejandro has never seen before. He now thinks Sarinput himself never used the chamber. It was built for his sons.
It has some logic that they were buried in the innermost part of Sarinput I's tomb in a very privileged place. the family wanted to be united in the afterlife, the best option was to bury them in the same funerary complex.
Alejandro may not have found Sarinput's missing mummy, but he has uncovered a new piece in the puzzle of this spectacular megatomb. When Sarinput built his tomb, the pharaoh gave him his elite team of builders and the finest royal artisans. They built him a monumental funerary complex with extra chambers for his family. Ancient texts say it was fitted with an exquisite coffin, a gift from the pharaoh himself, and precious grave goods, including furniture from the royal household. The grandeur of Sarinput's tomb is a testament to the way the Middle Kingdom pharaohs governed their country.
The monumentality of his tomb is telling us a lot of information about the royal administration here, the prices that the king gave to the local elite.
During the Middle Kingdom, the pharaohs developed a sophisticated system of government. They appointed trusted governors, like Sarinput, to rule key territories and kept them loyal by rewarding them with splendid megatombs.
For me, the Middle Kingdom is not only a golden age of the Egyptian history, it is the period in which Egypt gets its maturity.
In Dashur, at the Black Pyramid, Colleen is exploring whether Pharaoh Amenemhat's ambitious construction project paid off, and if he was able to match the achievements of the mighty pyramid kings of old.
The care that they took in the construction, even in this long corridor. And yet, cracks emerged.
She hunts for clues in the network of tunnels below the pyramid.
These are modern repairs to shore up the construction, but you can see the ancient beams here. Those would have been added almost 4,000 years ago because there was already subsidence in the pyramid structure. And what that would have meant is that there was instability.
Unlike the pyramids at Giza, Amenemhat built on the clay of the Nile floodplain, just 33 feet above sea level. Here, groundwater could seep upwards and soften the earth beneath. As the pyramid took shape, its tremendous weight pushed down on its network of underground tunnels. Cracks appeared in the ceilings, and workers had to shore up the walls with wood and mud brick. Amenemhat had tried to build himself a megatomb like the kings of old, but he failed. He abandoned his ambitious project, and the pyramid began to crumble.
One unfortunate result of the instability in this pyramid was that the king was never buried here, only his queen.
The Black Pyramid took many years and huge resources to build, but ended up being a very costly failure. And Colleen thinks the mistakes made on this pyramid hold a clue to why so many of the Middle Kingdom pharaohs have also been forgotten.
These are mud bricks. This is mud mixed with straw. That is what this pyramid was constructed of at its core. What is in the thousands behind me? Only the exterior casing blocks were made of limestone, which is a completely different situation from the Giza pyramids, where the entire pyramid is made of stone.
Mud brick was a popular building material during the Middle Kingdom because it was easy to manufacture, cheap, and light. But it has a fatal flaw.
Mud brick simply does not survive the same way as a solid stone pyramid.
Colleen thinks this is a key reason the Middle Kingdom pharaohs have been forgotten. They either built their vast megatombs underground, where they remained hidden, or constructed mud brick tombs that simply weathered away.
Kings of the Middle Kingdom built incredible monuments, but many of them were not constructed in the same way as either monuments before or after. So many of the traces of this remarkable period are lost to history.
Today, archaeologists continue to unlock the secrets of the megatombs of the Middle Kingdom, how Egyptian civilization prospered, giving rise to a sophisticated new elite, how its pharaohs appointed powerful local governors to run the country and kept them loyal with lavish rewards, and why, despite building some of the most spectacular monuments in Egyptian history, they have now mostly been forgotten.